Welcome to the Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic podcast.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I'm going to say thank you for coming back on the Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic podcast, but that wasn't really your choice. Basically, for anybody who's listening, Rav Singh has already been on season one of the Flawed, Foolish and podcast. We already know he's fantastic. This man's gone up a level. He's still fantastic, but he's got better. So we had to come back for a second round. However, we didn't tell him we were coming back for a second round, and we have basically turned up at his door, forced him to get changed, and put him in front of a camera. And
Last time you told me it was a podcast. That was my first podcast, and I thought it was going to be no cameras. And I was sitting in a black T-shirt. Now I've got my history waistcoat on, so I feel comfortable today.
No, that's
it's
good.
all right. You know,
so I apologise, and I say thank you at the same time. I apologise for being impromptu. Well, I'm thankful that you've gone yes, and your humility's allowed us to come in.
No, make the most of your trip to Romford.
So no, definitely look for a cheese place to go to. We'll see. But no, I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you for being our fantastic again. Flawed and Foolish, you're here representing and learning from you. And I really want to initially, obviously, just say thank you for having us back. But this is a catch up on developments since last time. We saw you in January. Since then, we've seen some wonderful holiday posts around Europe. But I know that you went holidaying around Europe. I know that you were going around Europe. You were researching, looking after research and finding new things with regards to the Little History Seeks, which, to be honest, is no longer a little history anymore.
We're into medium history now.
In the way that you're going, you're finding so much stuff which is relevant, and I'm quite excited to find out more. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Rav, and tell us, since last time we've seen you, what have you found? What are your developments, and what can we look forward to seeing? This is going to go out This will probably go out in January, isn't it? So You'll probably release stuff on the internet before us, but by that time, I'd like this. No,
January's the right time for what's happening. So really, I think we spoke at the end of January this year.
Yep.
And I think we were coming out of COVID from my tours at that stage.
Yes.
Because for 2 years I'd been quite quiet in terms of physical tours on coaches or in Europe. And really with the Brexit situation and the COVID situation, it was time to emerge, 2022. And this year we've been really busy. We've had a very busy season. But yes, I have been going back to Europe and picking out some research out in Europe. Yeah. We've been working away. So I think...
Before I hit Europe...
Yeah, go on.
Have you found anything new in the UK?
Yeah, so in the UK, it's interesting. We've done our Oxford tours last year, and the Oxford information just keeps building for me.
Okay.
We've been working with Stephen Barker and Dr. Priya Athwal.
Yeah.
And that was really about trying to have a partnership with Oxford. So Priya works as a history faculty fellow for Oxford Histories. So they're interested in history around Oxford. I had started doing mapping Oxford. And then with Stephen, with his book about Hardit Singh Malik, we were able to actually hone in on further locations. So my tour would have been Dr. Manmohan Singh, Hardit Singh Malik, the Dalip Singh sisters, and just kind of little histories around Oxford. Yeah. But what happens is when you partner up with an author, you combine the little histories with the in-depth histories, and suddenly the tour becomes even more deeper and enriching than I could ever have made it.
Really?
So having Stephen and Priya join our inaugural tour, and then we did another one earlier this year, really gives me that's where I think it's going to go now, where I can partner up with people, give them the opportunity to meet their audience, and I can bring people who are genuinely interested and have the questions, And we've done that with Amarpal this year, with the East India Company tours, and the Battle of Jallianwala tours. That was the one. You and that one. So that I like with Amarpal. I've done with Arfan Malik at the British Museum, because he's been presenting some partition stories there and his stories. And really the next set is where we were a little history with guides. It's a little history with guides and then a collective of experts. Okay. And those collectives are people, who I think do a lot of good work. Their books are behind me. Yeah. I've used their books to develop the tours. Yeah. And having them on the tour with me just makes it amazing, because they add so much to my tour, but equally they have an audience who appreciate them being in the physical, accessible physically. And, I watch those tours because I don't need to work so much. If Stephen takes over, I can just step back and watch. Yeah. And what I actually see is people absorbing that history and thinking about it. When you're in my position, I can watch them think. And then I know I'm going to come back to those people in 10 years' time and see it's impacted on their lives.
Yeah.
And this year, there was that example. So we had 10 years ago, I did a tour to Thetford. And on that tour was a brother and a sister whose mother at Ilford Gurdwara. And they'd been on the tour. That's fine. I've got the photos. I've got the little thank you at the end. And this year, her name's Simran Gaur Panesar. She is such a fantastic artist.
She's the artist, yeah.
The artist.
She's just done the beautiful artwork.
And, and she was in Chelsea. She was at the Prince's Foundation for Fine Arts.
Yes.
She was presenting there. I went to see her pieces. Yeah. And then I took my card with her because she said, I really enjoyed this trip. This was in 2012 when we went to Thetford on a coach. And somehow she's continued that passion and her parents have supported her. And she's now an emerging artist in the UK on fine arts. And that, to me, just completes the wheel. That's what Little History was about. It's about Garamsar kids not moving to the Western pace so fast, taking a step back, realising their rich history and heritage. And I always thought if you're going to be a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, at least you carry your history with you so you can be confident. But when she can take it to that level, I'm not saying it was because of Little History, but I'm saying, but that's the model. It was supposed to not be for elders at the end of their retirement years.
Yeah, it's for the youngsters to give them something a bit of their own history to aspire to share with others again, isn't it?
That's it. And this year I went to see her exhibition, just quietly went on my own, just looked around, and you feel kind of proud that, she's there. Her art is selling for good prices.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
And it's amazing, and if the credit card machine worked, I think she would have had a sale, but it kept declining for 3 times. It was a fault with the machine, not with my credit card limit.
That's it. Not like me, just pretend I've got some money and give a dodgy card. Okay.
No, that card had money and I was waiting for some invoices and it just wouldn't process. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to talk to her mum and just do it private, sell it out.
Exactly.
But I just wanted her to know that her art was appreciated because they have these little red dots, when pieces sell. And she was selling,
Good on her.
And it's good. And hopefully she'll make her name now. But she's doing well. But then there's all these other kids, whether it's in sport or it's other, you're watching this generation now. Yeah. That they're not tied to doctor, lawyer, accountant.
Those were that was the only choices.
Yeah. DLA is doctor, lawyer, accountant, That was our generation was DLA. I got no DLA.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be a therapist, get out of my house. That was it, that sort of thing.
That's it. So now that's what Little History was supposed to be about. It's 10 years now in the public domain and it's starting. I can see it working. Yeah. And it's about now the new generation joining the tours and kind of working their own way. But it's I can see how it's now developed. And in this year's season, I've had lots of we've been part of the Mayor of London's programme, London Unseen. So that's given us a platform where it's not a Sikh audience anymore. Today there was 3 Sikhs, everyone else was non-Sikh.
That's wicked.
And there was 40 people on the tour.
Well, that's even better. It's enriching enough for our community who want to learn about their own. Yeah. But the moment you've got people from outside of our community interested in what we have participated in or what our history is, that's got to be really nice. And
that's my vision for 2020 was I've done 8 years with the Sikh community in a kind of safe space. Now I need to face out and let's take it forward. And there's a lot of emerging opportunities now. And this is what I was just saying to your daughter. I don't know how this is going to go. We just flow with it and let's just see how it goes. I'm sure I'll get pulled up by someone if I make a wrong turn somewhere. But
that's
until
how
then,
things are, isn't it? You just carry on and going until then and develop and hone your techniques better, and that's what you're doing, isn't it?
That's it.
So you've found some extra things in Oxford, braced with the academics that are there, and obviously they've enriched your tour. Yeah.
Well, items in London, I'm always finding.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. How many more items have you found in London?
So one of the ones which you came on the tour, and I've been this huge memorial in Tower Hill. It's opposite, and that was our meeting point. And
we were late for that.
You were late for that.
Yeah,
but I'm fleeting.
We were late.
So I do this I've been focusing on my East End Sikh history tours. Yeah. So what had happened is this Tower Hill memorial. It's iconic. It's big. It's huge. But we're not seafarers, I thought. So, there's not really nothing Sikh here. Until I met a Bengali gentleman, right? So I met him in Aldgate and he said to me, what do you do? How does it work? He has a library in Brick Lane. So I just go and wander in, see if I can find any books and sit down. It's like a reading club. So he says, what did you... And I have my card with me, so I just show him the maps and my card. And he says, you do histories in London? I said, yeah, try to find new things. He goes, have you been to the Tower Hill Memorial? I said, not really. It's a Merchant Navy memorial. I didn't really think there'd be any links.
Yeah.
He said, no, have a visit. I'm sure you'll find a Singh name there, right? Because it's all full of Uddins and Salahs and people from Calcutta in the Merchant Navy who during World War II had passed away. So then basically now, while we're waiting for people, we say, go and find the Singh names, right? It says K Singh, HMS Kohinoor, HMS Satluj. Ships were named after the rivers. Some Sikhs had made their way to Calcutta as seamen. In the Second World War, in the Merchant Navy, they were doing the supplies. And because they died at sea, they're memorialised in London. So I still haven't finished that research because I just take the photographs and now I need to find who was it.
So now you look for the provenance.
Story. Exactly.
But it's the fact that you found something. You got something.
And the
else
ships
there.
were named after the rivers in Punjab. We found plenty of those. And, these ships were sunk in World War II. So that was nice. But then the East End Sikh history just keeps turning up. Like the Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings. So I'm a member now of a magazine there. It's called SPAB.
Okay.
Ancient buildings are 600 years old. And there's a society to protect them.
Yeah.
So if you're an architect, you'll join that because that's where you want to really work at that level.
Yeah.
It's very, very detailed and very, very precise. But the founding member of that was Frederick the Leap Singh.
Really?
He was a founding member of the society because he was into protecting heritage in Norfolk. So he decided that these ancient buildings in Norfolk are not being looked after. We need to set up a society in London, and make sure that members contribute and we can repair churches and do things. And he was the founding member of that society.
That's amazing.
16 letters from him are kept in the SPAB headquarters, which I've got it inspected, and he signs and he makes representations to government. And he asks about certain money to be put into certain buildings, and he's the one who donated the Ancient House Museum to Thetford.
Yeah.
But the fact that he also set up a society which runs to this day, and I've joined just because I want another Singh to be on that list of members.
Well, that's
it's not
in itself, isn't it?
and we did a tour and we show people the building, and there's a building nearby there which is ancient as well in the middle of London, but it's protected. And next door is a society. So that was a new one, and just these little ways you just find wandering the streets, these buildings. And opposite is the hotel. It was called the Great Eastern Hotel. Now it's the Hotel Andaz. But these historic hotels, they still keep their signing in books and registers.
Okay.
And the last day, Maharaja the Leap Singh stayed in the UK, signed in at the hotel. The next morning he travelled from Liverpool Street to Gravesend, then got on a boat and went to France, passed away in France and never came back, But his book, you can still go and check the date.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, or I haven't. I've got the, I have to make an appointment.
Yeah.
I know it's there, but they have to dig it out of their
That's
archives, And these little stories kind of work. And now it's a modern hotel, but it's still got a Freemasons hall upstairs. They've still got the registers and the members and all of that stuff.
That's amazing. So that's his last point in the UK before he leaves.
Before he leaves, he signed, and then he never, he thought he was be coming back.
And
but
then
that's the
ended
last.
up in Paris.
He used to leave a lot of visiting cards everywhere. The Leap Singh signature isn't that difficult to get hold of in London markets because as royalty, they had little photo cards and they would leave envelopes and they would leave things with their signature on. But the fact that was his last signature, before, and he never returned from Paris because he passed away there.
That's amazing. And those 16 letters.
16 letters.
16 letters.
From his son, Frederick.
That's amazing. Yeah, I know Frederick, but that's really good as well.
But he was making representations and he was trying to tell government. He was
that's
like,
fine.
Like his sister was doing for women's rights, he was doing for protection of buildings. So I think if any young Sikh wants to be an architect, why do you always have to look at Norman Foster? Why can't you just look at Frederick's work and say, what was his passion? And if you make your name, then it'd be nice for you to bring that forward. And that's what I've been doing with the RAF this year. There's been a couple of officers there.
Okay.
I've seen them on the Sikh Military History Forum and they've presented on Sikhs in the RAF. That's fine. You get your negative comments, your positive comments, etc. But to me, the fact that two young Sikhs stood up and to the whole of the RAF tried to tell their stories and their history and their research as a project and present it out, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
3 or 4 months later, he reaches out to me. And now we've just finished a D&I, Diversity and Inclusion, Sikh History Tour of the RAF, developed with standing orders by the RAF. So you can pick that as a training from their options.
Yeah.
Contact us. All the orders are ready, what they call admin orders.
Yeah.
They're already, you just buy it off the shelf and it's all pre-approved now. And a young Singh did that. all of it, you know. And I was just so proud of him that he didn't just say, "Oh, let's just do one tour, buddy. I've got my photo done, and you know, put it on Facebook and done." He's actually left a legacy, and now I've got the second unit now asking for a date, then the third unit, because it's easy. It's all the work's already been done for you, you know. And that. I didn't know that was going to happen, but in 2020, that's what seems to be happening now. We're getting embedded into the mainstream through training, through universities, and the next bit through tourist offices in abroad now. You know?
Well, no, that's really good. Well, I'm really shocked about that last signature of Marriage of the Leap thing as well. That's
in London, Great Eastern Hotel, Liverpool Street. You know, who would have even thought that? Now it's King's Cross to. Where is it, in Ebbsfleet, and then straight to Paris.
Yeah.
But he went Liverpool Street to Gravesend, got on a ship and went that way.
That's mad.
You know.
So those are new things you've found since January in the UK, let alone.
The other interesting thing, we've been working on it since last year, is we're going to do the Chelsea History Festival again. This will be our third festival.
Yeah.
And for the first time now, we've got access to the Queen's Lawn, where we can get up close and personal to Maharaja Ranjit Singh's cannon in Chelsea. For years, I just knew it was locked away, and you would just point to a cannon.
Well, no.
That's the one, you know.
I've got the photos. I was next to it. I was just like,
right,
because it's got the inscriptions on the side as well.
That's it.
We took a photo trying to decipher them with Google Lens, and I couldn't do it.
But now I have people who can read that, so they've deciphered it. I've had 2 recordings now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's Chanchal uncle. He deciphered it because he could read Urdu and Punjabi and Hindi, and we had a young Singh who was from India who could decipher it, and they both said the same thing. They both said what the VNA said, which I knew in my back pocket. What does it say? So it says there's a ruler's name on it, but it's I've forgotten the name of the ruler, but it's not Ranjit Singh, but it's a ruler. But it's dated 1790. So it's from the Misl period. And what they then say, it's one of Maharaja Ranjit Singh's early guns.
Okay.
And it's not one of his European guns with the French came in and started making modern ones. This is one of his original 30 to 40 cannons he had in the original armies before he started to expand.
No way.
So what had happened is we have one of those at Chelsea and not 2. The other 2 Chinese guns, the actual undercarriage, they're from Punjab. So we have 3 items, 1 cannon, 2 undercarriages. And now we can inspect them and you can see the little differences. This is Punjabi, this is Chinese, this is... And now I've read enough notes. And when you can up close and personal, you can see it's a fish.
Okay.
You know? And then you can see the flower and you can see the head of a lion. But you can't see that from far away because it just looks like a round circle. But when you get close, you can read it all. And then they've got dates on them on the other side, you know. So that's been nice. And now we have, as long as I book in through the official channels, they always leave the gate open for us now.
Yeah, no, it was really nice because I couldn't believe. I thought when we got there, so obviously the obelisk with all the names on from Chillinwalla Battle. So we did that, and Kamalpreet did a quick talk there. And then obviously it was a case of, those are the cannons. And I thought, this is as far as we're going to see. Before you know it, was like, come around the side. We went around the side and I'm like, standing next to these things. And then you're like, there's Charles II's statue there. And then you're like, oh my God, we're inside. And then, for me, I was just taken aback because I was like, I didn't expect to be this close to these things.
I mean, we can feel and touch our history. Yeah. Imagine if a thing just, anyone reading a book says the Battle of Chillinwalla, okay, and this cannon killed this many people from this distance. And it was, in military warfare, what happened is a lot of those cannons were melted down to make the British cannons after the wars. But these cannons were given out as trophies because they were good examples. And what you saw at Chillinwalla, the obelisk, there were supposed to be 4 cannons there.
Around it,
and then a fence. And now we're part of a project to return it to its original glory. So
not just that, you've got a plaque there as well.
Now we have, So we were given that opportunity to write the history for the festival 3 years ago. Yeah. Then COVID hit, so we couldn't go into the hospital because they're all elders there, at risk. So the board was there. And the other thing about Chelsea is that's the only green space in Chelsea. It's such an expensive area that's built up. So the Chelsea Flower Show happens there.
Well, you shocked me that day because when you said, this is where Chelsea Flower Show happens, I was like, I've been to the flower show. I've been here and I didn't realise this was here, that was here.
They surround that by flowers,
I didn't
the obelisk,
that.
right? But now...
I'm looking at daffodils every 2 minutes, when I could have been looking at this.
Yeah, and then now the board is one of the most read items, because people are passing it. All the dog walkers in Chelsea know Sikh history now because they bring their dogs to walk in those grounds and they read the board. And people watch them reading the board and they tell me, Rav, your board's being read again.
But it was I can't remember his name. Was it John who took us around?
Yeah, John. Yeah, just such a nice guy.
He was so proud of the Sikh history there. And that's what got me. He works there, but
he's
really,
on the guys
really,
team, but we've done a lot of tours with them. And I think every soldier who works there, because they've served, they have a respect for both sides. Then none of them have ego.
No,
because they all
not.
know that they could have been the one who died.
Exactly.
They all know that. And when I speak to them, it's like you speaking to any of our elders at the Gurdwara. They're quite humble. They're very down-to-earth people.
Really nice people, yeah.
And, we had another tour 2 weeks ago with the Sikh parenting group.
Yeah, I saw Sikh Mum, Sikh Dad on there. Rav Singh was on there.
But the kids asked so many questions. And these guys just came back to me and said, Rav, you must be knackered. I said, I'm not to me. He goes, we are. We've only had it for 10 minutes. How many questions? I said, carry on. But they answered every question the kids had, and I was just like, when you grow up in places like this where you're only surrounded by your own community, when you go to the Chelsea Hospital, you're actually stepping back into what our parents thought England was like.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone says good morning. Everyone says good afternoon. They wish you a good day. There's no swearing on the side.
No.
It just doesn't feel like London. It just feels like you're in the middle of like old England or somewhere like that. And the people have always been welcoming, but they've all known about Sikh history. They're just so happy to see Sikhs.
No, like I said, I was surprised. And then when we got into the Great Hall there, and you have the battles, all the different battles, including the ones first Anglo-Sikh War, second Anglo-Sikh, and then it was when you start getting into the later wars where you get the wars in India, Second World War, and you got Mesopotamia and India, and you're just like, how many of these have got Sikh soldiers in them? I don't know, but you're just looking at how many during the time of the Raj and thinking, Sikh battalions must have been involved. Because I saw the ones for Hafia, saw the ones for Israel. Yeah. And I know
they were serving.
We've got a guy in Leicester who is a Baha'i. And he did a talk in Leicester, it must have been about 5 years ago, it was 1918, so he was talking about. So we went, it was 2018 when the talk was. So he's like 100 years ago, the Ottomans took over Israel, this is what happened, and it was the Sikhs that came in and saved the Baha'is. Yeah. And every year they do a parade through Israel.
There's a stamp they released about it over there. But it's the Rajput regiment. They put on the stamp, but the Sikhs actually...
And he named the 3 individuals who basically died during that battle, 3 Sikhs who died during it. And he's like, this is what they did. And I was thinking that when I went there, and I was like, okay, the Sikhs were involved in that one. How many of the others? And you've just talked about that. Egypt. Yeah. And obviously that's on there.
Malaya is another one. Borneo. Another one. Then we went to New Zealand as lumberjacks, Then on the way we stopped off at Fiji, and we came off at Fiji as policemen. Shanghai Police Force was Sikh. Yeah. Burma Sikh regiments there. So this initiative needs a lot more people to work on it and map the histories. Just last week, someone reached out from New Zealand. Yeah. They've reached out to you. I think they're called Snippets in Punjab. So I said to them, Kamalpreet's snippets in Sikhism. And he said, I've reached out to him.
You know what, this is going to be really bad, right? This is somebody who's left me a voicemail twice. And I've said, I will, when I get time, because I'm working stupid hours.
Right, so what happened?
So he goes, please, listen to the voicemail. I said, I promise I will when I get time. And that was going to be my thing to do tomorrow morning after I watch Power.
No, don't. So he reached out to me, right? So he's a young Singh from Punjab who's gone over to New Zealand, and he said, look, he's really inspired by the podcast you guys have done. So it's you, Ramblings, and the talks with myself. And he goes, I really want to work out Sikh history and, do what you guys... I said, look, it's fine. I said, I'll send you my New Zealand stuff.
I'll send you whatever.
And let's see your page grow, because we need more people doing local history. I said, I don't think I'll ever go to New Zealand. It's like 28 hours away, right? But do it. And I think he's one of those people, with a visa from India, gone out to New Zealand, but then learnt more about Sikhi in New Zealand than he had in India. Yeah. So he's like, Dalip Singh, Ajit Singh, all this stuff. He's excited, And so he said to me, I've been inspired to set up Sikh snippets in Punjab. And I said to him, Ramblings, they will talk to you, And he said, I've sent them a message.
No. Like I said, I'll tell you, I have got it. I've got one from Balaraj Singh Riyad, and he's in New Zealand, and he sent me something. He's like, please just listen. And I was like, yeah, well, I promise.
But so really, for the New Zealand people, our community went out there on HMS Caledonia in 1908 with a stopover at Fiji to refuel the ships. Yeah. Because we were citizens of the British Empire, we could go anywhere. So they looked out at Fiji and they said, this reminds us of Punjab. We'll just stay here. We don't want to carry on. So they became farmers in Punjab, in Fiji. Then the ship carried on to New Zealand and Auckland, Christchurch. We became lumberjacks.
This is going to sound really stupid, right? And probably the most not arrogant thing. You know when you say the most ignorant thing. So Sikhs went to Fiji.
Yeah.
You know Vijay Singh, who was a golfer.
Yeah.
Does he come from like a Sikh descendant?
I don't think so, because there's so many Vijay Singh stamps, and I tried to research
right,
this.
that's fine.
I think Singh.
That wasn't too bad a question.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't sound completely like an idiot.
No, so what happens? It's a Sanskrit issue again. You know? So because I think the Singh, so that would have come from that aspect. But we as a community were given the freedom to settle in Fiji. By the 1950s, we had 5 gurdwaras and 5 Khalsa schools, because the only way we could propagate or keep our Sikhi was to keep our education going.
Yeah.
So they, very early, the Khalsa schools in Fiji were like Punjabi schools in the mainstream. And the families were farming communities. So you had the gurdwaras in Suva, next to them you had a school. What's happened now is in the 3rd, 4th, 5th generation go to America, Australia, New Zealand for further education, don't want to do farming. So the schools are actually now Fijian schools.
Okay.
So if you ever met a Fijian, you could just ask him, what school did you go to? And I bet you, it wouldn't surprise me if they said, I went to a Khalsa school in Fiji, because they're mainstream schools now. And there's 5 of them on an island that's quite small, because the Gurdwaras built the schools in the 50s, and then their own community has declined because we've emigrated.
Yeah.
But it's been mainstream. Now I just think that's fascinating. There's a banknote there, 100 years of the people of Fiji. And it's the only banknote I've seen with a full Dada Sikh on it.
Yes, I remember you showing us, because there's a couple of images of individuals on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to sing with a Dada and the start on there.
Yeah, so a plug for snippets in Punjab. Let's see if you get some people followers. But but that's what's beginning to happen. Yeah. But that's what's beginning to happen now, is that people, I think, because of the platform that Ramblings and you guys and everyone that's kind of provided, it's reaching audiences outside of the Ilford kind of Southall postcodes, which, because at Rumta it was Southall.
It's not that, right? People who probably live nearby, it's like when I go to Amritsar, right? People do not see the value of. I was walking around and I was like, oh my God, here we are at my bazaar. Here we are, found this in this gully. And people are looking at me and think, what are you doing? Taking photos of. Yeah. I'm just like, they don't realise the value of it. But those who are distant, so it's like you said, you'll probably get more people coming on your tours who are from way out of London.
They make a big effort, and I then feel guilty, because you've got the train cost, you've got the parking cost.
No, because it's like Gurbani says, Jinko Lagibya Samitsek. It's those people who get that desire and thirst. Yeah. They want to know those things. Yeah. While other people go, it's around the corner. People who live outside the Darbar Sahib, I was like, how often do you go to the Darbar Sahib? Oh, I go every day. Yeah. And then you talk to others, how often do you go to the Darbar Sahib? I ain't been for a couple of months. You're like, you live across the road. Yeah. But it's the desire and that sort of thing.
And I think I've always thought, for what we do and the space we work in, it's not mainstream, right? We know that. First, you got to walk. 2, we don't give you free food or langar, so it's not a nagar kirtan, right? Because people have a misconception. Going on a walking tour, how many samosas are we going to have on the way there? I was like, mate, it's not a samosa, and tour. And then we don't offer parking. That's a big problem for the Sikh community. There's people here don't use trains, don't go on trains. They just used to their Mercedes Benz, and that's it. Man.
But you'll do weekend tours, right? If anybody wants to go, you park at Hounslow Station. It's free on a Saturday.
But people who want to make the effort do it. Yeah. The others just say to me, like that. And then the third thing, it's history. But what I'm telling people, it's not history. I'm actually just giving you a mirror. Yeah. This is your story. The Leap Singh story is your story. Yeah. For every kid who goes to a school here and being the only Guttiwala in the class, he was the only one in the UK. Yeah. So his story is your story. And Amar writes about, when he read the letters when he came from Lahore to Penrith, and he was talking about how cold it was and the jackets he had to wear. He never had to wear a jacket in Lahore, right? And it made it real.
But it's the same story. It's my mum's story. My mum said they came from Africa and then they saw the snow for the first time, thought it was brilliant. Half an hour later, their hands were hurting and came in crying. They were cold. The people that just came and stayed, so they stayed with a family who they knew from Tanzania. And then that family went out the next day, brought second-hand, because they could only get second-hand clothes. They brought second-hand jackets for everybody. And you got to remember that my mum was one of 8 children. Yeah. That family, out of their money, brought coats for everybody, brought everything for everybody. And because they were just like, it's freezing. We've come from playing with animals. It's nice outside to going, when's the sun going to come out?
And then you don't realise that, so although we do history tours now, every artefact we present, I think, for those who are listening, is telling you about you. Yeah. It's telling you about your history, your heritage, the blood that's going through your veins. Mm. And then if you can hold on to that for a little bit longer, you know, and then hopefully you're seeing this kind of re-emergence of Sikhi amongst young people, you know.
Exactly.
They're discovering it earlier in their lives, and long may that continue.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Gurbani's not just for the elderly. That's what,
No, exactly.
that's what we grew up with, you know.
Yeah.
The elders were at the Gurdwara while every youngster was in the shop, which was
Doing
open
whatever
10
work,
a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. You do
know?
the Kamai, but when you
Yeah,
get to
Kamai.
the end, you'll
Yeah.
come here. And,
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
how it felt. But we've always been in the Gurdwara from a young age. So
yeah.
we've seen our social circle, our sports circle, everything from the Gurdwara. So, but, you know, we're seeing it now. You know, you see Barking Gurdwara, such
Yeah.
nice building now.
Hmm.
But now we've got the Sangat that's cross spectrum. You know?
Yeah.
So, and then the history tours just kind of explain to young children and young kids that there's so much in the UK, you know, that you'd be surprised, you know, that whatever professional angle you want to take, I think the journalists seek, you know, military seek, doctors seek, there's no lack of icons that you can look up and tell their story and say, I'm following in their footsteps.
Yeah.
You know, so
Oh, that's great. Are we going to hit Europe?
let's
Are you
hit
happy
Europe.
for-
Let's
Right.
hit Europe.
I saw some lovely pictures.
Well, I
It looked
agree.
like you were having the best time of your life on holiday.
I went on my own.
No, but, well,
That's
you
what I
probably
was-
were having the best time. But I saw your pictures, and it's like 1 minute you're here, then you're here, then you're here, and I was just like, and obviously I knew you were going to go find locations of places from what you'd read and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So what have you found? What have you been up to?
So next year we're going to hit our VIP section again.
Yeah,
When we go to France, we go to North France. We do the World War One battlefields. We do that tour. I've done that tour, I think, 6 to 8 times now. Myself, small groups and big coaches. I'm like, for me, it's a somber tour, you know,
Of course,
because it's not luxury. It's fields, it's battlefields, all that kind of stuff. So you go there with, you know, 100 years ago, and you come back thinking, why aren't we taught this in schools? Why are we always taught the Tommy War?
Yeah, of
and we
course.
know the reason for that. And then we have kind of the Paris tours. The Paris tours are more, the Leap Singh passed away here, although the hotel's kind of negotiable. It's near enough that area. And then you've got Amrita Shergill stories. I've mapped where she learnt her art, where she won her prizes, the drawing she did of the seedy underworld in Paris before she went back. So that's a nice weave
I
tour.
don't even know who that is. Do you?
So Amrita Shergill,
please, yeah, sorry.
let's go through this. So she is one of India's most celebrated artists. Her art, her use of colour, actually created a genre in the 1930s. The interesting thing, and this whole story, this is where I think, you know, here's a script for a film for anyone. So you have the Leap Singh.
Yeah.
He has daughters Sophia, Catherine and Bamba.
Yeah.
Catherine, Bamba and
Yeah,
Sophia.
Sophia, yeah.
Yeah. They're going to go to Lahore in 1908, but they're princesses.
Yeah.
You know, they want to try and do their own thing, but they need someone to go with them who can help them dress, who can help them, you know, carry the umbrella. They need a maid. So they put a newspaper advert out, and someone from Hungary responds from the Times newspaper, Marie Antoine Gottesman.
Okay.
She responds and she says, I will go to Lahore with you and I will be your maid. This is the unknown bit of the story. So they end up in Lahore. In Lahore, Marie sees Rav Singh. Rav Singh and Marie decide that the marriage is on the cards,
Yeah.
and they get married and they move to Budapest.
Okay.
In Budapest in the late 1920s, are born 2 girls. One of them is Amrita Shergill. But because Maria is a pseudo opera singer of that culture, and if the Leap Singhs weren't involved, she would never have met Rav Singh,
Okay.
because they would never have needed a maid to go to Lahore. That's the missing bit. All it says is Marie Antoine Gottesman marries Rav Singh from Lahore. They have a child, Amrita Shergill. Amrita then gets to Paris. She's about 18 and she's got a flair for art. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
And they enroll her, because of her mother's cultural connections, they enroll her at the Beaux de Paris Arts, the School of Arts in Paris.
Yeah.
And I've worked out the first house, the second house, all of this stuff. But she gets accepted into this institution where great painters are taught how to paint.
Okay.
But she started to challenge, because her use of colour was different to everyone else's.
Yeah.
They were still painting the kind of, you know, whatever, the Michelangelo
The
style of
Renaissance
art.
art,
That's
the
how
Renaissance
she
art, Christian art.
She started to portray the dark, seedy underworld of Paris with the colours being sombre.
Okay.
And she started to do this. And then she won the prizes every year, and suddenly her art started to get noticed, and she went back to India. So in India, she just painted and painted and painted. And in India, there's lots of paintings of village scenes, of grandparents with children, just village scenes. But the way she used the colour was the interesting bit for them. And then she came back to Paris, and I think she passed away at a very young age, about 28. She passed away in a hotel room, you know. So she never got married, but she had painted so much that today they are objects of national importance that cannot be taken out of India.
Okay.
There's a stamp from Mozambique I've got on her, a stamp from Russia I've got on her for her art, and it's really interesting, Amrita Shergill, you know, and the story. So we tell her story, and then we go into some museums and see some Punjab relics in the Asian art museums, they call them. So a Paris tour is kind of nice, it works, but then you can go to the Palace of Versailles for a day trip.
Okay.
So at the Palace of Versailles was where the Maharaja Kapurthala had a pseudo embassy in that area. So because he was a Francophile, he only drank Evian pure water, and he got it shipped to Kapurthala, right? And he saw the gardens in Versailles, and he saw the palaces, and then he modelled the Kapurthala buildings on what he saw in Paris,
stuff,
and that's why Kapurthala is called the Paris of Punjab.
That's right, the buildings are different itself.
That's it.
Okay, right.
The buildings were seen in France.
I thought that was just to do with the way...
Modern day.
The way their sculptors or architects...
No, he shipped them over to Kapurthala. These guys were so rich.
No,
I
thought it was just that the Gaudet had brought their own, but I didn't realise he had shipped them.
No, he was basically on a massive pension, so he could just sit around Europe acting all French. He learnt the language, he loved the art, he loved the buildings. So he took the people back to Kapurthala to build the same buildings for him in Kapurthala, which is now called the Paris of Punjab. So that's our Paris tour, these stories. But I wanted to go to the south of France, and I wanted to work out what is going on in the south of France. Because in 2017, some statues were put up in Saint-Tropez.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I saw the opening, I saw the Italian Sikhs go there, French Sikhs go there, but I wanted to dig a bit more. And actually, this is what I had to. This is my French book. I'm so glad you told me about Google Lens.
It's the best thing ever, isn't it?
Because look, this is my French reading. So I bought Le Generalissime in French, and this is all about Allard.
Yeah.
So he was one of the generals.
One of the generals of Lahore. Maharaja Ranjit Singh's son.
Exactly, and he was one of them. There's quite a few interesting stories I'm picking up from this book.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when we go around these armour collections like Ranjit Singh and everyone and Devinder Dur, and they have the turbans, which are like the helmets.
Yeah.
There's nowhere in history other than that period. Why are we wearing helmets as Sikhs?
Yeah.
Because he had the Fauji caste. He had the military. He had the bodyguards of Ranjit Singh, and then 10,000 men under him. And he had the Fauji caste. They're like the supreme, kind of the SAS of the Punjab army.
Right, the Wakandans, aren't they?
Yeah, but also in the French army, they had these helmets with that plume on the top.
Yeah.
That plume. And he modelled that because it was Napoleon's army. And he modelled that for the Sikhs and the Fauji caste to show them that they're in the Fauji caste, which is the superior unit.
Yeah.
So I worked out all these helmet things that were going on, and I worked out what was going on, because after he left, we don't wear helmets again. But that was a way, a distinguishing feature for his people were with the helmets, and that's why we find those helmets with the space for the goodies, now. But
because you see him in Devinder Singh Dur's collection. You see him all the time,
Yeah, but there's a lot of them around. Some of them aren't in great condition.
Yeah.
But why did they get created? What happened? I found out all these stories while I was in Saint-Tropez. So he was a son of Saint-Tropez. Saint-Tropez are seafaring people, and he's called the son of Saint-Tropez. So at the top fort, they only have 3 sons of Saint-Tropez memorialised, but he, in the whole of history of Saint-Tropez, he's put there his statue inside.
Okay.
And so there's a lady there, and I spoke to her, Melody, at the museum, and I thought, I didn't know this was here. I came to see the statues. Yeah. So I walked right up to the fort, took some beautiful pictures. She said, no, come inside. Allard's story is here. And it talks about him weaving his way to Punjab after the Napoleonic Wars had been defeated, stayed in Persia, learnt Persian, then got to Lahore, Ranjit Singh took a shine to him and said, look, I need you to modernise my armies because...
So he's like a French version of like Marco Polo, where he talks about his odysseys all the way through.
All the way. So then what happened is he he, him and his mate Ventura. When you read these books, they tell you what really is going on. They've been given free rein by Ranjit Singh. Just go and conquer. If Hari Singh Nalwar looks after the Afghanistan side, you go the other way and start looking up that way. So he troops off with the Fauji cast to go conquer that side. You know. So he gets to Chamba. Chamba's like a small kingdom in Himachal. He gets the king out, right, we're taking over. This is all part of Ranjit Singh, and I want 50 women for my harem. That's what they were doing, right?
What a good day.
So that's but they've already got their headache. Yeah, but they've already got their harems in Lahore. They've got big gardens, big palaces. But then the princess turns up, and she's 13 years old, right?
Oh no.
Bannu, right? And they say you are going to be a wife of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, right? So they say, right, you're coming over to Lahore, and then the father, the king of Chamba, says, I'll leave it to my daughter to decide. And she said, why do I want to marry a one-eyed old man and then have to commit sati? This says that in this book, right?
True,
right. So she said, what future have I got? Married a one-eyed, short-statured king, and then I've got to commit sati when he dies, right? She goes, I only like this. She said, but you, general, your eyes look truthful. So she said that to him. So, and then he married her, right? So Maharaja Ranjit Singh before I went to Saint-Tropez, he was the Vacholla, arranged the marriage for strategic purposes, is what I thought reading these books. When you go to Saint-Tropez and you read the French books, they've got a certain different history of it. So it says, your eyes speak the truth. And then 13-year-old girl saying this to probably a general in his 30s, right?
Okay.
You know?
Sex offenders register.
Exactly, right? So then this book goes on to tell you that a few years later, they go on to have a family of 7 children, right? Now, they've got 7 children. 2 of them died and are buried in Lahore, in the Anarkali Gardens, in the tomb there, right? They've got a general who's now got 5 children and a wife. He's now thinking, look, if I die in battle, my wife's going to have to commit sati because the custom of the time is still there.
Exactly.
So he tells Ranjit Singh, look, I've got to give my children a fair education. I need to take them back to France for education purposes. Ranjit Singh says to him, look, I'll let you go back to France and then come back. This is me reading in French, all of these like snippets I'm trying to work out. So he comes back to Saint-Tropez. He's got his maternal home where his family were. And what Ranjit Singh does on the way to France, he says, you know what? Take all these Kashmiri shawls. We've just conquered Kashmir. I can't pay you really for your travels in gold coins, but I can give you all these Kashmiri shawls, right? So he takes a bundle of these Kashmiri shawls, brings them to France, meets the King of France, and the King of France then gives him a letter, an ambassadorial letter, and says, you are the ambassador of France to establish global trade with Punjab to do with these shawls. So he's got this decree. That decree is actually in the British Museum because it was in the Lahore Treasury until 1849. So now it's in the British Museum. And it says, Allard, as an agent of the French, you are the ambassador to Punjab. So he builds a home for Bannu Pandey and his 5 children. And it's a beautiful kind of mansion. I'll tell you more about it later. And then Allard then goes back to Punjab. So his wife, he's only left there for 6 months with 5 children. He goes back to Punjab. And in 1839, he dies as well. Because Ranjit Singh dies, but the January he dies before. And Ranjit Singh was very, very somber at his funeral because he was really a reason for his success in the north.
Right-hand man, wasn't he?
Exactly. So then what happens is this Kashmiri shawl industry starts to take off again because we were now in Amritsar, we were making Kashmiri shawls as well as in Kashmir. And that's a whole other story I'm writing up now because Priya Atwal talks about Ranjit Singh's ambition on the global scene, and trade is part of the global scene. So he now has got the King of France dressing up in Kashmiri shawls, the King of France telling all his cousins in Austria, Hungary and everywhere, and suddenly you're seeing all these royalty wearing Kashmiri shawls. Not just the quality, but the fact, how long it takes to make the rig. And it's not just a shawl, their dress is made out of the same stuff, so you see this in royal paintings now, from that period. So Allard's like a multi-millionaire trading in Kashmiri shawls, right? Sending all the money back to his family, and his friend Ventura has set up all the kind of the business side of it all. And then the story moves on that actually he dies. Bannu is there till 1888. She lives like till her 80s. So she was 20s when she was in France. So she lives the rest of her life
nearly another 50 years.
50 years in Saint-Tropez. But she's got an ensemble of servants with her as well because they're so rich. So they come from Lahore.
Yeah.
They're sitting in Saint-Tropez, and she spends 50 years there, but she can't believe that her husband's actually passed away. So she keeps going to the waterside every day to wait the return of her husband on a ship. And so now their children and their children and their children, now they've revitalised this story as a kind of a tourism hook. And now they've turned to romanticise this story for the long-awaited ship to return, romanticised it all. And now so I've gone there and I've just mapped everything to do with the shores, the statues, the old house, the new house, the tomb. And then I've gone to the graveyard to see the grave of her, where she's buried. So he's buried in Lahore with his 2 kids. Yeah. And she's buried in the family grave in Saint-Tropez. Yet she was from Punjab and he was from Saint-Tropez. So I just think this whole story is a story that can be told, and it should be told. The French are trying to tell it. So I think my next VIP tour is going to be with the tourism office in Saint-Tropez, and we can actually have dinner in her house, at 7 p.m. in a Michelin star restaurant. It only opens at 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then, we'll just pay whatever it pays. I don't mind, but we're in Saint-Tropez. And her house, because of the Kashmiri shawl style of it. So I'm talking about the design, the quality. Okay. The back door to their house, next to Dolce & Gabbana, Armani, because Saint-Tropez is famous for yachts coming in, doing the shopping. And yet her house is in the middle of that street, where it's all the shop. So all these little histories come together, and they're relevant today, and they're relevant then. And I think for us, there's a film sitting there. Who wouldn't want a Bollywood film created out of that, or a Punjabi film done properly?
I'm glad you're the one that's revitalising this history, because I've just seen it through a police lens, right? I've seen sex offender, married 13-year-old girl.
You did.
Migrant workers not working and getting paid well, and being exploited for shores.
You've got a criminal
and
mind.
And on top of that, she needs to be sectioned for mental health because she keeps going to the water every day. That's what's happened. So I'm glad that you are looking at it through your lens, because the police lens is really messed up.
Or I've got my French totally the wrong way.
No, I don't think you have.
So I'm going through this book of work, and I can't work out.
That's interesting. So she was from Jumba. And she ended up there. Did she still have links to royalty or anything after that? But I'm guessing...
But what her kingdom got swamped into Ranjit Singh's. Yeah, so her father, once he passed away, she was the next heir. You know? But she was supposed to marry Ranjit. So all of this kind of stories. But I think if that's one
a really great story. Yeah,
imagine there's 20 more. I just think there's so many more. Every woman would have had a story, because Jindan Kaur's story is the same.
Yeah.
She was the kennel keeper's daughter, or one of the, kennel keepers, and because she was beautiful, she got married to Ranjit Singh and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But her story, is similar. But Chamba, Bannus. In the UK, we haven't got a statue for a Sikh woman yet, or a Punjabi woman.
Yeah.
We've got lots of Sikh soldier statues coming up and on the horizon. France have got it. They've memorialised Bannu on a statue in Saint-Tropez.
That's amazing.
So you have Bannu and you have the general, and then in the middle you've got the Bachola and Ranjit Singh in the middle. And, they did that in 2017, and I've been trying to see how I could connect this. And then Henri, who wrote this book, I was talking about... the authors.
Yeah.
So he was away when I went, but I met Melody, who was the museum manager.
Yeah.
So Henri will bring us back, and he's now the tourism minister. So he's engineered this kind of thing in Saint-Tropez to bring the Indian luxury tourism.
Which it should do.
Yeah,
it should do.
Yeah. And every year they do the Cannes Film Festival. Yeah. From Cannes to Saint-Tropez, not even far. You could just get a 1-hour yacht across, That's what I did anyway.
We're just saying to these two have been in the car going, I've been on a boat and I'm scared.
Been on a boat.
So we were talking about your yacht. And we were like,
the yachts are different to boats. Boats go up and down. Yachts glide. They're fine. Yachts have boats in the back. So if so they'll moor up, and you have a little boat to go to the shore, because they're so they are luxury. And tell your dad, I'll show you the photo.
No, that's amazing.
So when we do the VIP Sikh history tour, it's going to be small, but it's going to be where we come back and worry about the credit card. While we're there, we just spend Lalo, Saint-Tropez, to sara kuch asli maal Lalo.
Exactly.
Helicopter kar lange, yacht kar lange, sara kuch karo.
Exactly, man. That's amazing.
But you know what I did for this tour? I did the yachts, but I also did the €1 bus to get to places. We can't just stick to taxis, man. I was bussing it everywhere.
No, that's good.
And that was Saint-Tropez, so that's good. But Monaco is amazing. So Monaco, the actual casino in Monaco, where you have to have a suit and a tie to go in.
Of course,
It's too hot, so I didn't bother going in. But when I came back, my Singh friend told me, "Did you see the Maharajas there?" I said, "I went to the graves. I didn't go to the casino." You know, you think you're going to do all this stuff, but I was like, one, gambling, and then I'm just going to spend the whole day there.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like,
yeah.
no.
Dad,
Send me. It's like that scene from Coming to America. Can you send me $300,000?
So I would have got taken into it. I would have been dressed smart and I would have been sat at the table for ages.
Yeah.
But in the hallways of the casino at Monte Carlo are the Maharajas of India, because they were on such fat pensions that they just lived it up large in Monte Carlo. Because in Monte Carlo, we were so Catholic in Europe that you weren't allowed to gamble. But Monte Carlo, after the Prussian Wars, created this environment where gambling would attract people in.
It's going to sound really sick. Monte Carlo in Monaco.
Monte Carlo's in Monaco. It's the capital of Monaco, but Monaco's so small. Monte Carlo's basically...
It's like how Vatican City is, isn't it?
So it's just basically the casino, and the shore outside is called Monte Carlo. And that's why they say you gamble away in Monte Carlo. So in there are the Maharajas of Patiala, of...
Kapurthala.
They all came over and they all gambled away. And because of their stature and their moustache and their beard and their stars... Their pictures are on the wall in Monte Carlo Casino because they are great royalty who probably funded half of the casino during one night or something. So what happened is Victor Dalip Singh was the same. Yeah. So Victor was a gambler.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about it, but he was. He was with Lord Porchester. That was his mate. And what they did with their inheritance was just ponce around Europe gambling. So they ended up in Monte Carlo as their regular jaunts. So I followed their footsteps. And basically, Victor is buried in Monte Carlo Cemetery at an angle facing the casino and the sea, because that's what he wanted to. That's what he wanted to see for the rest of his eternity, Christian life. So
didn't want Jerusalem, didn't want any of that, didn't want
just facing that. But so I went. I went to the graveyard in Monte Carlo is next to the Ferrari showroom. Can you believe it? Right. So I was watching Ferraris reversing out. I've got this 7-tiered. Cemetery, and I'm like, oh my god, now I'm gonna have to walk this one again. I've spent a lot of time in cemeteries in Europe, and me and my cousin got stuck after the European Cup final with Liverpool in a cemetery in Madrid, and they shut the cemetery while we were still inside. And I was like, me and my cousin are not the kind of people that can climb over walls.
Stuck with a load of pulled over now.
So lucky my Spanish came in handy there, and I found out there was a tourist exit, so the religious cemetery shuts, but the tourists who come. So I was like, cemeteries give me nerves. Now I need to know what time they open, what time they close.
Yeah, man. That's anxiety and PTSD after that.
Yeah, so I did. But luckily, Bobby Gill, who's at he's in Birmingham, he's been to there before. So I said to him, buddy, help me out. Tell me where it is. Because when you go to a cemetery, anyone wants to go to a cemetery and look up Sikh history, take a faggia with you, because you have to brush the leaves off the graves to actually read them. The amount we go all dressed up like we're going to find what we're looking for, then you go, hold on, they all look the same. And there's hundreds of them. So I found it quickly because Bobby gave me the exact instructions of where it was. Then I walked around and I was like, well, here's the Victor story, and here's the kind of trap story, because the Western lifestyle is a trap.
Yeah, of course it is.
So
materialistic trap.
So Dalip Singh had obviously remembered his life, and he went through the sovereign, squire, rebel phases. But his kids, they'd straight Eton, Cambridge, then friends who are lords, and all of that kind of stuff. And the trappings of a life where you don't have to work. No kirat kamai, nothing. Just it's given to you on a plate. Just write a letter to the India office, get more money. India office, get more money. Coots Bank, gamble it away. Mate of Henry Ford went to his factory to see where cars are being made. Lord Porchester used to have all of his stuff delivered. So these kind of histories all kind of connect up together, So
that's awesome.
So that's kind of, for me, if I did the Monte Carlo trip, it's a warning to all the young people. Don't go this way. We don't need to be buried facing the casino. Stick to your own faith. Cremation is fine.
I like the way that people are going to listen to this and go to the other halves going, I've got a reason to go in a casino. It's for family.
Family history trip.
Why are you taking your 3 credit cards? I've got a trip. I've got a suit like
but you have to go with a suit. So that's a nice, for me, that's what I want to do next year. I'm going to pick a week. I'm going to just do 10 or 15 people. Meet me in Monte Carlo. We'll do that day. Then you guys do what you need to do. Next day, we'll go to Saint-Tropez.
Flawed, Foolish, Fantastic on tour?
Yeah, on tour. I'm going to work it out when it's cheap to go. because I bought an expensive ticket this year.
Did you?
I bought a half-term ticket. I could have gone to India for the same price I paid for
Oh
Nice
my God.
airport, you know. So next time we're going to go a week before, and then it'll be fine. Because of that Jubilee bank holiday,
Exactly,
I tried
yeah.
to do that, and everyone was flying. So no, that's good. So France, there's so much more. You know, I can go to any castle in France, and I'll show you the links to Punjab now because of the Kashmiri shawl connection. You know,
That's mad.
I went to the Asian Art Museum in Nice.
Yeah.
Again, Kashmiri shawls, artifacts, and I'm like, I think anyone who's traveling, anywhere you go in the world, just find an Asian art museum. I guarantee you Punjabi stuff will be there. If it's not a shawl, every museum has a Kashmiri shawl. I'm telling you that now. And otherwise you'll find artifacts from Punjab. But it has to be Asian art. So they'll have Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and then they'll have Indian. They call that Asian art.
Yeah, of course.
And in the India section, I have not yet failed to find a link to Punjab in their collections, you know.
That's mad. That's amazing for me.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
So whichever country you're
we're
in.
thinking about doing. We were just like, let's try to do this and try to do that and try to find 3 artifacts, and we're like, I ain't found nothing, man.
So
We're done.
I'll tell you another one which I discovered this year. So the Maharajas used to come to the UK. Rolls-Royce was a big company. You know the story of that. But some Maharajas were even more extravagant than Elon Musk or whoever can commission anything, right? So there was a Maharaja. I'm trying to work out if I'm going to guess he's from Punjab, but I'm not 100%. No, he is from Punjab, but I'm not sure which kingdom it was.
Yeah.
Might be the one with the B, begins with B, but anyway.
Bawal? No.
Pur, some people, Bawalpur,
Yeah,
maybe.
Bawalpur, that's it,
Yeah.
Bawalpur.
So he's a Maharaja, fat pension, you know, he's pensioned off by the British, one of the Cis Sutherland states,
Yeah.
very British friendly. Turns up in Europe, turns up in London, and says, you know what, I'm going to commission a Rolls Royce in the shape of a swan. So he has a white car that comes like this and then comes out like a swan, like this. Right? So it's
Very, very dangerous.
very extravagant, but it's for him to drive in his gardens, in his
Okay.
palace, you know. He wants to see the swan gliding around his garden, so he commissions the Rolls Royce to do that. And then he says, you know what, the young Maharaja needs one as well. So they have a little baby swan one. And those 2 Rolls Royces are on display in Holland. They're in a
What?
museum in Holland, right? You know?
Whereabouts in-
So I've got it all researched up. So when for our Dutch tours, you know, we're going to go out there.
we were on about going to Dam. So we were talking
Amsterdam.
about,
Yeah, it's not far from Amsterdam. So I sent my cousin the link when he was in
just
Amsterdam.
for cheeses and glocks and whatever.
Right,
Clogs
so
and
you
whatever,
need to get me high-res photos of these 2 Rolls Royces, Signet and Swan.
Man, like,
You know,
we'll do
it's
that.
going to be so good. But that's like, now the Holland tour starts to take shape because that's kind of a day tour. You're never going to see that kind of stuff. And then just do the traditional Holland where there's plenty of war history in Holland as well. And there's some memorials and things like that. And then there's always the Gurdwaras to go to as well. You know?
Yeah, because
So-
that's really important for me
Yeah.
anyway.
No, but we have to
local
go to
Gurdwaras,
Gurdwara, yeah. And so but the fact the swans are there in a museum,
That's
the Rolls
amazing.
Royce swans, you know.
Have you found images of that online? and
Yeah,
stuff?
I've got it. I've got it all. I don't
Well,
even
you
know.
want
I've got it all. So I'll
personalised,
send it to you. But I haven't posted it yet because I
No,
think,
no. We'll let you post
No,
whatever you need
because I
first.
want to see it for
We're
myself
not-
and
we're not-
verify it all.
yeah.
You never know if it's a random tweet. But I've went to the museum, and it's when you do the drop down list, the only Rolls Royce they've got is the swans. That's why people go and see them. And
That's
it was
amazing.
a Maharaja from Punjab who commissioned it. You know, they look beautiful. You know, I've probably hooked it up. You're gonna have to put a picture of it on the.
Well,
on the
we'll do by
podcast.
that time because we would have, all 3 of us
No,
would have gone to
yeah.
Dam by then. And
Yeah,
we'll be out there. We'll do something.
yeah.
But no, that's amazing.
So
That's
that-
quite mental at the same time that they were that extravagant and that.
They were, you know, whatever we think Elon Musk or at the Amazon Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
whatever, if we can go back and do the inflation factor, these guys were nothing compared to the Maharajas in India. You know, they were the trillionaires of their time. You know, the fact is that after 47, when the kingdoms got annexed and brought into India, they lost all their pensions.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the bit when they went in to have to sell off their
Because
jewellery and
not
sell
just
off.
that, because their families now, you know, third generation, that they're running those places, hotels.
They
are-
can't maintain them.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
can't
They're
maintain
screwed.
them.
They're
Yeah.
just like.
But they haven't got that luxury of an income because their land was taken
Yeah,
as well,
exactly.
you know, and absorbed into
The
their
titles, everything. Were gone.
everything had gone. And that's the sad bit of it. Otherwise, they would have carried on, you know. But it kind of shows your short-sightedness of accepting a pension. You know, why don't you just keep your kingdom?
Yeah, man, definitely.
Pensions are not transferable. And this is why the Dalip Singh children got into trouble as well, because Dalip Singh had fat pension.
Yeah, and then it all
Really
of a sudden
good.
disappeared.
And then 6 children plus another 2 It's not going to go very far. And they didn't have pensions.
God, he sounds like Boris Johnson, doesn't he?
Yeah.
6 children.
And plus another 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
But then what the UK government tried to do was to give them some sort of standard of living, try to give them lordships, so you can get your £300 a day by checking in, you know.
Is that what it was?
No. Nowadays it's £300 a day.
Oh my God.
It's gone up to about 350. But in the old days, whatever it was would have meant you could carry on your London life by just going into a couple of debates and then going out in the evening. That's what lords get nowadays, 350.
How do I become a lord?
You only have to go in for 1 minute. You could be Lord Singh of Leicester, easy. You know, just get someone to sponsor you. You know.
Hold on.
Yeah, write it down, Singh.
Become lord.
Yeah. What you have to do is give a couple of donations to the Conservatives.
Fuck that.
And then you have to be nominated by David Cameron on his exit. You know, so that's how the lordships work. And then basically they're just... Nowadays, I think it's all... There's no I don't know. There's no prestige associated with being nominated by a Conservative peer.
No, it ain't anymore.
You know, it just shows you've paid your way to
it. Yeah, exactly. You've been involved in some element of corruption to get them.
Yeah, and some of it's only 30 grand. I'm like, 30 grand to get a lordship. Because you can look on the donations register how much they donated. You know?
That's mad.
You know?
So Singh, man,
So we've been to Holland, we've been to France.
So
Ahmad was in Portugal, and Justito was in Portugal. So I was sending them about the Portuguese East India Company, saying go and work it out.
What have you found stuff there?
So Portugal actually had a strong East India Company, the Portuguese one. And it was all commissioned by the palaces. So the East India Offices of Portugal, which was called something in Portuguese, something the India House and whatever, is in the palaces. So you would go to Lisbon and walk around the palace, and you would never know that actually that door led to the India office, you know. Okay. And I would just tell people, go and see it. You know, it's nice to go and see. I haven't been to Lisbon myself, Lisboa. Yeah. You know, but that's interesting history. But it's pre-Sikh. Yeah, because it's kind of, they were out of the Sikh picture.
Exactly, because Vasco da Gama and that, they came time forward, didn't they?
But even after that, he was still around in the 1600s, but the British kind of pushed them out and just to Goa. And then, But that's interesting. And where have we got to? Hungary brings the Shurgin connections.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting because I didn't know that until you just mentioned that. I'm like, hang on,
that's another film. How many films have we discussed now? About 3 films, I reckon. We've got the Saint-Tropez film, we've got the Budapest film. Just need Gurinder Chadda to listen to this.
Yeah, exactly. Bend it like Beckham in Budapest.
Yeah. But she made some other films. So but I think
she's doing stuff on partition and stuff like that,
which is nice. And no, but I think the stories are there. We just need the writers to write them up, the books to happen, because all filmmakers do is adopt a book. Yeah. You know, so some of our whiz kids have to write the books, you know. But for that, they need to know, come on the tours and understand the story, you know.
Because they are, like you said, they're a story in themselves. That the Allard one, that's really interesting.
You know the other story about the Sikh Schindler?
No.
So Catherine Sophia the Leap Singh from the LGBT community, her teacher. So they used to live in Kent. They had a tutor before they went to Somerville College in Oxford. Okay. The tutor and Catherine were friendly, and she moved in with her tutor in Germany, in a place called Essen. You know, so I don't know where it's near Frankfurt or somewhere like that, but Essen. And then when World War II hit, they basically shipped out Jewish families from Germany to the village of Penn in Buckinghamshire, because they had a massive house there, Sophia, and she called it Hilden House after Hilda, Catherine Hilda. And they kept so many Jewish children there away from the Holocaust. And she, you know, like Peter Bance has done all the work, and she's referred to as a Sikh Schindler because she protected. And they came and they've got a massive house. I went to Hilden House. It's near Beaconsfield Services on the M40, just behind, you know, about 5 miles behind. There's a village of Penn and a huge house in the middle of it. It's all gated and treed up, so you can't see it. But it comes up for sale every few years. So if you're going to be a prospective buyer, you could walk around it.
Well, that's what I need to do now.
Yeah. You know, so all you see it on
Find a child under a floorboard.
Or Zoopla. You know, you go on Zoopla, you can see all the pictures. But now the descendants of the actual children in their 80s or whatever, they go back and they hold Sophia and Catherine in such prestige and their children.
Is that written about?
Yeah, well, Peter's been promoting that story because Peter's puts it up on his Instagram sometimes. Their families come over from Germany.
You know, there are lots of books documenting the lives of the Jewish children who came here.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like, that'd be really interesting.
I mean, in Inquisitive, when he did the painting, he was commissioned to do a painting that's now on display in Thetford. That story's told, that story's told through his art. That where she's working to save the children, bring them.
That's amazing.
So I just think, when I consciously created a little history of the Sikhs, my vision was not the great history of the Sikhs, because that's the Guru period, the Shaheed period, the Misl period. When we get to 1820 is when I wanted to pick it up for modern day Sikh history.
Yeah.
And the amount of stories you find that can be so powerful for our children, and they can connect to them. Because we find it difficult to connect to stories in a village in Punjab that we've never been to.
Yeah, exactly.
So I so connect to the story of Kamalpreet Singh, Kamalpreet in Pakistan. And every partition day I listen to this story of Kamalpreet,
Because they got streets named after him and all sorts.
Yeah, exactly. But, the story I hear that Azharuddin Shah tells was how do you divide those in the mental asylums between India and Pakistan? Is he of a Pakistani heritage, or if he's of an Indian heritage, which side of the border they go to? And these people are caught in the middle. For them, they're just saying, this is our home.
Yeah.
Why, and this whole story is so emotional. And, and then the families, for those who stayed in Pakistan, their families got moved to India, so they had no more visitors after 47.
Yeah.
When at least they had a weekly visitor when they were. And these stories are powerful, but it's difficult for our kids to connect to them in Punjabi schools because they're based in India.
Yeah.
That's what I found from teaching Punjabi. It's just like, if you talk about the Guru Nanak period, to them, that's like the Jurassic period, right?
It's so long ago. Yeah, exactly.
It's like the dinosaurs were around in those days. When I'm trying to say it's modern, it's at 1469, But that timeline concept isn't there. Then you talk about, the Misl period, then you get to the Ranjit Singh period, and then that's still too far away. But these modern day Sikh history stories where you can go to Saint-Tropez and say, I know you're on holiday, but look, here's Ranjit Singh.
Yeah.
This is talking about the land of the five rivers. This is talking about a global economy. This is talking about trade. This is talking about bunno. This is talking about marriages. These things I hope can connect to them, so it doesn't make them feel like they can't be confident in their Sikhi, because Sikhi has travelled around the world since that time,
Well, that's it. The point is that Sikh history did not stop at the annexation of the Sikh kingdom.
Yeah.
And that, for me, it was a case of, that's it, sort of history has stopped. Yeah. And then I remember when I started seeing your page and I was like, what's this? What's this? What's this? And you're just like, holy crap, we've got loads of stuff here that I've been ignorant to there. But, and like you said, now you've found it across Europe in different parts.
Yeah, and I think, even there's all these East India Company files in Stockholm at the moment, that I need to go and find and work up. They've found a whole batch of papers, from the East India Company officers in Stockholm. One of them took them back there. So the Sweden Sikh history starts to pick up now. They've got the Volvo of Joginder Singh, who was the East African rally champion. It's at the Volvo Museum in Stockholm. So we can start, doing things over in the Nordic countries as well. So I think it's never going to stop. But the way I'm trying to do it is that it's a family-orientated break with a little bit of Sikh history built into it,
You know how much a family ticket costs, doesn't it? Can you just not make it a man-only ticket?
Man-only is fine. Everyone's welcome.
It's a man's holiday. Sorry, kids. Yeah.
So that's where I think I'm going to get going to, because as we get older, I've got, the time and the quality. And, now I'm confident in talking to the tourism ministers.
Yeah.
I'm confident in talking to the historic royal palaces. 8 years ago, I would have been starstruck, and I wouldn't have been able to present what I can do now. And it's kind of a win-win partnership, So I think the key for me, though, is to keep it humble and don't go in there demanding things,
It's not just that. I was about to say that. You've done this in such a humble way. You're not out there going, found this. There's a lot of people who put this out there straight away and go, pump themselves up. You never pump yourself up. This is why we have to come here.
I can't pump myself up,
because you try not to. You are so humble with all the work that you do.
But the thing for me, when we say it's Sikh history, it's Sikh history. It's not my history. Yeah. I'm just putting it out, and I've always kind of felt this. If I could keep the I out of Sikh history, it'd be fine. But people look for me on the tour. And Jagraj said to me this before. He goes, Rav, we've made a website. We've put the printouts there. He goes, but people will still fly me to Canada to do street prachar. And this is what I'm trying to say to people. Little histories are there. The V&A, you don't need me for the V&A. You can read the card. Please read the card. That's all I'm telling you to do. You can take your chacha, your taya, you can make your own day out of it. But you know what? We still need you. I said, what do you need me for? I'm taking you to a museum, right?
Yeah,
but Jagraj said the same thing, and I don't know. And I don't.
Well, we've just said the same thing, haven't we? I've done the. You gave me the details. I took the kids to the Parliament Square.
But at least you reached out to me.
To the suffragettes, and we went to the V&A, and we did all that sort of stuff. And I'm just like, that's great. I want you with us next time. I want you with us because I want you to go, here's a snippet, this is what's happened.
Then, see, what I'm finding is when I bring the authors with me, then I'm learning off them as well.
Yeah,
because when Henri's there, then for me it's a tour as well. And then you guys are hanging on and it's all enriching it.
I agree. Because
it's happening.
When Amarbal was there, when we were talking about Chillinwan, and he said, Chillinwan is the place where this battle took place. It's also the place where Alexander fought Porus. And I was like, what? Are you telling me this happened here? I knew that Alexander went up to Punjab. I didn't realise what point. I didn't realise where it was. For me, that was like a boom. So I totally agree. You're learning from people.
And that's why these are supposed to be like collaborative learning experiences where I'm learning from the audience as well.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting into that is mode where Jagraj and I had this chat long time because he said to me, Singh, just YouTube it. And I was like, Singh, I'm trying to not be on YouTube when I was in my early days.
Yeah.
I was like, this is my relaxation. I don't want to breathe in on every photo, So, right, but he said to me, like, at Karam said, he said, no, you have to put this history on the internet. And I was like, no, Singh, it's a secret club. We're just going around London discovering things. Yeah. But, now 10 years on, and, if I'd spoken to him now, he was right all along, really, because he was kind of visioned it before it happened.
We know that. We've done the same. It's like we don't ever want to be in front of a camera or do anything.
But now we're more confident being in a camera because we've done the grounding.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I think, they want to present, but they don't want to read or they haven't got the time to read the books. And I'm like, if you can't spend the time reading the books, you can't connect the histories.
Of course.
If you're just going to read what I wrote, then it's going to be linear. And I've done these tours for tour guides, and they respect because I can answer every question they ask.
Yeah.
And you know what? Every question they ask is simple. Why do you wear a turban? Why have you got long hair? Yeah. Why don't you cut your beard? I'm like, these are basic questions.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
For a tour guide from Luton who comes down to the tour, these are brilliant questions that he's answering straight away. And I'm like, these aren't hard. If you ask me about the date of the Chillinwan, that situation, then it's hard. And all I say to our tour guide trainees is, you have to bring yourself on the tour. So don't copy me. Do your own reading, make your own stories, make your own little histories, and then you'll be confident in them. I've given you a start of a 10, but
end of the day,
your passion comes through on the tour, So, and I'd still think for anyone who's 16, 18, 20, it's the best part-time job in the world. Why would you want to work in Sainsbury's going tick, tick, tick across the barcode?
I said exactly the same. So if I lived in London, I'd be...
Yeah, but even in Oxford, they do Oxford tours. So I'm like, why am I going up to Oxford to do it? Why can't you do the tour?
Let's go to Oxford. They'd say, let's go. I'd end up at Bicester Village myself. So let's be honest, I'd be shopping.
No, but if you go to Oxford on a Saturday, there's like 150 tours and all students are leading them. They've collected 15 quid each from everyone and just walked around the colleges.
Yeah, I'd do that. And that's what I mean. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I just think
it's tax-free.
Confidence, public speaking, making things up on the spot. A bit, have I got news for you? All of that, weave it in. And Bob's your uncle. You can come back with cash-only income.
That's amazing.
Want to declare it. Don't want to declare it.
No, normally you stop people, as police officers, you stop people of that age with a load of money, like drug dealer. And these lot have all got,
tour guide.
I'm a tour guy. What, with 200 quid on it? Yeah, I'm a tour guy.
I just collected it all.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think if I wanted to monetize it, it's easy to monetize, but I enjoy it because I just say pay as you go. Just pay as you go. If you can afford it.
Well, I saw that because we came as a family and you're like, it's £20. And I'm just like, that's nothing, absolutely nothing. You're not making any money from this.
No, but I think any money I make just goes on more stuff in it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. The inventory is brilliant.
Yeah, but we could also kind of, when other people are doing things, you can just contribute slowly, and it all comes from the little fund. So it's all fine.
Do you pick up on? Obviously, you said you started doing tours with other people, but obviously there's a little history of the Muslims and Jews and all sorts. Is there stuff that you've found from them or their tours that have impacted on your Sikh tour and you've gone, I didn't know about that?
Yeah, so we've worked with Muslim history tours. We've got History Speak, who's a Hindu lady from Delhi doing it now. But today I just finished a tour with Black history, Muslim history, Hindu history and Sikh history. Yeah. Now, 15 years ago, any time you were on the BBC and they said India, it'd be Muslim or Hindu.
Yeah, of course.
Sikhs were just not even in the picture.
Have you seen?
If you're saying Black history, we weren't even in the picture.
No, I'll agree with you. Have you watched the programme on the Satanic Verses on BBC? There's a documentary that's come out last week. Basically, A Muslim male has done a documentary saying 30 years ago there were these riots that caused a fatwa and Salman Rushdie. And the show, he goes, when Indians came over to Bradford, this was a life. And it's a BBC interview with a young Singh living with his family.
Young Singh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, young Singh got his stardom with his family, living in Bradford, and he's like, there's 10 of you living in one room. It's like, yeah, it's fine, that's how we are. It's like, do you play with the white kids? Like, no, none of the white kids play with the coloured kids.
30 years ago?
No, this is a documentary, but they're talking about, obviously, when the Asians came first to
I
UK.
see, okay.
So they're using a news clip from there, and then they go, the Muslims came, and you're like, these aren't Muslims, these are Sikhs. I can see they're Sikhs. I know they're Sikhs because I've seen them on another Sikh documentary.
Yeah.
But like I said, they were referred to as, obviously the footage, what they got would have been Muslim speaking.
So I always found when I was kind of engaging with the mainstream audiences, anything Indian independence, whatever, the Sikh element just wouldn't be there. We were so off the radar, and it's understandable. And I always thought that was a gap. And I've ended up like 20 years later being the gap filler because today we did Black History, Tony Warner, a legend on the walking tour circuit. I saw his program on Channel 4 in 2008. Thought, I wonder if there's a Sikh history tour, and that sows a seed in your head. And today I met Tony for the first time in person after following his career on Black History, right? Then Muslim history tours, a friend called Abdul Malik, and then a young lady from Delhi who's come to England, learnt about the British Empire, Manasi, And today we did a relay tour. And I learnt, like the Black History tour was talking about Sophia Dalip Singh, because he says she's non-white. Black history is non-white.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So he was presenting Sophia, and I was like, Acha, right? And he was saying Sophia Dalip Singh, and then he handed the baton to me, and then I talked about the generals. Then I went to the Muslim history tours, and they've got a canon, same kind of stories. And then we went to the British Empire. And what I learned out of all of that, it doesn't matter where in the world the British Empire went, the blueprint from the European royal families was the same. They would take your kingdom, they would take a child, they would bring that child to the UK, and it would be, we would foster him, put them in, her or him, put them in a suit or a corset or whatever, dress them as a European, and say what a wonderful, benevolent thing we're doing for the thing. But they've kept the royalty away from their people.
Yeah.
And then that's a blueprint idea, which the Belgians did, the Italians. It's because they were all one family anyway. This is what I realised today. I was like...
The families, because you can see they're all... you saw the German families, the Christian families, the Greek families. Yeah. They're all interlinked.
So then this happened, and then, the more... We did 3 hours today, and the more I reflected back on it, I was like, Tony, if we just change the characters, the stories are the same. He's talking about pilots in the RAF that came from the Caribbean. I'm talking about pilots from the RAF that came from India. Yeah. Who were kind of...
because we've got that in Gravesend.
Same, they've got a uniform, so they, they look great, but they've lost their own identity, or they've been repositioned. And I was talking about how the education system was changed from Lahore being very education rich,
dumbed down,
to being now we burn your books and we'll tell you your history from our perspective. And I was trying to say the one protection we have as Sikhs is our Bani, because that cannot be changed. And whatever psychology or games you want to play around it, and you can manipulate our Rajas, and you can turn our royal kingdoms into offices, and you can pension people off. But to this day, I know that they might have tried, but they can't change Gurbani.
Exactly,
and that's kind of like our protection shield now. Because whatever the Maoris went through, or whatever the Canadians Zulus, or the Zulus or the North American Indians, we're not at that stage, because we'll just keep growing again, because Barney will just grow more Sikhs, and Barney will just grow more Sikhs. And, you realise that, because these African stories they were telling, these Caribbean stories, they're all Christian now. So...
Yeah, it's true. They are. They gave you their book and they took everything else, basically, didn't they?
Kind of. And I was just walking this tour, and I said, our stories are the same. Our stories are... So this empire that we read nothing about at school, that, I don't know what degree you'd have to do to even try and understand this. I'm learning this through the walking tours and through the evidence on the streets of London, that it's all there, and it's a blueprint, and that blueprint isn't going to change if we're not part of the story. We have to be part of the story to change it. We can't believe what they're telling us in the textbooks.
No, because we're getting their perspective and view without looking at what material has been left out of it.
And Tony was telling me today, they've changed the textbook.
Yeah.
You know, they've changed it. And that's what my agenda's going off to. We're meeting with Loughborough University. There's a new history syllabus in 2026.
Okay.
And we're starting the work now to create the learning resources on partition for 2026 for the new syllabus.
University?
Now, Loughborough University are education, but they're in London.
I was about to say, they're about 10 miles away from us. Right?
Yeah, but
I was like, what are we doing up here?
Yeah, but their professors have a campus in London, and we're part of that engagement now. But we're doing it 4 years ahead of when it becomes part of the national curriculum, when partition becomes part of the national curriculum. So how do we get the Sikh story? How do we get this in? And then the kids in 2026. And Tony's already done that on Black history. So I'm following him because he's kind of like an icon for me, you know. And he always says that you have to put it into the education mainstream. So yes, we can ponce around doing tours and collect 12 quids and do that. But unless I can do
everybody else to learn it.
Yeah, everyone. And if everyone knows the story of whatever we put in that syllabus, you know, then that's it. And that's one of our little ticks objectives met, you know. Then no kid will say to me, we didn't know, because you did know, because it was part of your homework in year 10. You know, the story of partition, exercise 3B, this was the character, this is the pind, this is the thing. You have to know it, you know. But the resources start now for 2026, you know. And a little history is somehow part of the story, you know, because of these tours we've been doing, you know.
No, that's great.
And then the school visits start, and then the museums have to change because it has to tie to the syllabus.
Yes.
We're doing a school trip on partition. Where is it? Where is it at the British Museum? There is a partition story now in the British Museum.
Yeah.
It's all done, but it's temporary. So what they'll do is in 4 years' time, they'll just bring that story back out again because it's already done.
Okay.
The archive's there, the storyboards are there. When it becomes part of the curriculum, that I think I'll be around to see it. You know, when then there'll be school visits in June, tying in to your school syllabus. Every London school will go to the British Museum to go and do that as part of their curriculum day, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's really good. I didn't even know that.
So,
I didn't know that partition was coming in as part of the...
I hope it's coming in. Let's just see how much... It depends on the government changes and ministers and all this stuff.
But what I mean is, it's the fact that they've even got an eye on going, there's potential here, let's get this started.
Well, partition, what they're saying is it's a British story. It's not just India, Pakistan, it's a British story. You know, why do we leave lands divided?
It was... the whole theme of that was in the latest Miss Marvel Disney Plus thing, wasn't it?
A very British history, they call it, you know.
And that's what it was. It was about, hang on, we are part of the same land, but they split it in half. So to consider myself Indian or Pakistan, it's not...
I just watched Ranjit Singh put out a Doctor Who episode on partition. I watched that. You know, my family thought it was very slow, but I was hooked. I was just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, so I totally understand. That's absolutely. So what's the future looking? I know you've just talked about some bits, but what else are you going?
Yeah, I think
I've got other places to go. Or
I mean, I'll just carry on doing Ireland's on my list. Wales, I've come back from. I want to do a bit more in Scotland and get more out there. Keep the UK trips going. Isle of Wight. But I said this in the first podcast, is that there is no plan for Little History. It just kind of flows. As people contact me, I generally contact them back. I don't think I ignore anyone. And not having a dig at you.
No, that's true.
No, I'm just having a look. When I was a non-entity, for 4 years I waited for email replies from all the great and the good, you know. Yeah. And it was only Kamalpreet Singh who said, Singh, just keep it small and do it yourself. You'll be fine, you know. Yeah. And it's just that little bit of like a blessing or an ashirwad from someone just opens up a whole new world. Yeah, and he said, if you've got any problems, just call me, right? That's all I needed at that time, at that moment in time. Yeah. Because you write stories, you send them off, you say they might be interested, you have your hopes on these emails, and no one checks these email inboxes. But I've checked everyone, you know, and I'm just like, mate, if we can help you in a little way, that's fine. Because they're going to carry it on, you know. People don't realise how short life is, really, you know. And so I just think there'll be more opportunities. It's getting too busy for me now. Yeah. And I need to work out a work-life balance to incorporate history properly. What it means is giving up the Maya from work for a day or two a week. And that's an addiction anyway. You know?
You got to see what's right with you, your family, whatever.
But you need to be told that, or you need to be conscious that you need to strike a balance, you know? Yeah. Because everyone thinks this is my full-time job.
No, I know it's not. After we spoke to you last time, we're like, whoa, you do what? The housing development, you do this, you do that.
And I just do little bits of everything when I feel like doing it. But if I'm sitting on a Zoom call there, I've got 2 computers. If it gets boring, I'll just do Sikh history research on the other one. Yeah. My buddha's on the Zoom.
Yeah, exactly.
But I cannot get bored.
That's better than me, right?
Yeah, you're just falling asleep.
No, I do the same. No, I'm on a Zoom call, but I'm playing Championship Manager. So it's very different. You're actually doing something to educate yourself and try to push
I'm just trying to rework my writing because the amount of papers I have to rework my own writing because they run it through some Google program which tells me where they nicked a copy, cut, pasted that bit from, Then the professor gets upset with me.
No, that's where have you used them AI tools?
I think they're using the AI tools, not
all
me.
All you do is you chuck it in and it rewrites it for you.
Oh, Buddy, last time last time you gave me Google Lens, which opened up a whole new world.
I'll give you this. No, I'll send you this today, mate. It's
rewrite
really
my
good.
paper.
This is how I do my work stuff.
I'm going to rewrite my paper from a Punjabi angle.
You know when we've got to do like lesson plans for legislation that comes in? That's all I do. I chuck it in. It sounds all rubbish.
Sort me out with that thing. I'm writing one sentence at a time, rereading it. Thesaurus,
No, I'll send
I've got Grammarly. I pay for Grammarly now.
I would have got you a fake license.
No. I like to pay for that one. It does. It earns its money. Grammarly does.
So yeah,
the amount of capital letters.
I'll sort you out with the AI thing. It's really good. Really good.
Yeah. No. So I don't know where it's. But I think consciously I'm going to have to build in the quality.
Yeah.
Through my partnerships now. We're building up a collective. And for me, it's interesting that the collective is growing to include non-Sikhs.
Yeah.
So a little history of the Sikhs when we started was Bhagwala, 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 Bhagwala.
Yeah.
And Benji, Benji, Benji in the middle, right? That was my brand. Like 10 of us, 5 Sikhs.
You put these in, you just see.
5 Sikhs, 5 Bhagwale, 5 Sikhs, and we had 10.
Yeah.
Now in our collective, we've got about 25. But I've got Irfan, Zakira, I've got Clelia from Italy. And these guys are genuinely doing quality work because I've worked with them for years now. So I was like, why can't I put you on my website? Because personally, you're passionate about this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've written up the piece. Priya's happy to be on our collective now because I don't know what project she's doing next. Yeah. But I do know she drops me a text every now and again. And, we can talk on the history. I can verify my information through her.
Yeah.
She'll read it and she'll tell me, And having that little network on WhatsApp.
That's good because you've got a peer review system.
Peer review system,
Peer review system is essential when you're writing things like that but the last thing you want is go, that's...
Because we had this issue where, Lancaster Gate, Jindan Kaur, George Richmond painting, it happened, the box of jewels came out, she wore them, George Richmond painted it at the request of Dalip Singh. The only picture we have of a Punjabi queen painting. But where was it taken? Oh, the house next door to the Logans. Well, where was the house of the Logans? Round the corner to number 1, whatever, Lancaster Gate. Round the corner, but there's no house called Round the Corner, Logan Gate. So then my little network works. We do some America meetings here with a collective in America. And, they do auctions and they go and one of the guys there said to me, Singh, I found in America, he's bid for something in the UK, which I was like, I wish I knew, There's a letter from Dalip Singh, but it's addressed to 25 Lancaster Gate. I said, bingo, got it, 25 Lancaster Gate. That's what is now on the information there because I've got provenance. I now know it's not there anymore. It's knocked down and there's a hotel.
But you got provenance where it was there.
Exactly. So we know the address where it was, because Dalip Singh wrote to his mother at 25 Lancaster Gate. That might not have been the first night, but that was where she stayed after the first night.
She stayed.
25
It doesn't matter,
years.
she stayed.
So, and all these things is what, Netflix and all these people who want to do things, they want the enriched data. Where do we shoot?
Yeah.
What is the link? And if you're just going to fluff it, Lancaster Gate, it's a long road, and all these little connections kind of in my head, I don't forget those. I forget loads of things at work.
Yeah,
and
that's not important.
Yeah, and my mate, he says to me, I have a dyslexic moment on his accounts all the time. I was like, yeah, mate, it happens, right? Because I'm not concentrating. But these things I don't forget for some reason.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
So that kind of shows you that's what you're working to kind of add something for. And it's not, and anyone who thinks you're going to print a book and make loads of money, I don't think the world works like that anymore.
Nope.
So we print the books because we want to leave a record, basically. We don't, and if it's 1,000 print run, it's 1,000 print run. But, there's no point in paying yourself a 25,000 print run and then finding we haven't got the marketing distribution mechanism needed for it to be, reached out. We need the publishers. We need the big publishers, the ones with the network. That's how our story is going to get out. You know, it's not going to get out through our own Facebook channels, is what I'm trying to say. You know, that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
So we have to, these partnerships we do with the palaces or whatever, their reach is phenomenal. You know, when we did the Sikh soldier statues last year, they monitored everything. They monitored how long people were reading the boards.
Okay.
They were looking at audience engagement, audience retention.
Retention of information.
Right. So they mapped all of that. They produced a report after 6 months and they fed back to us on the report. And they say, because all the variables were in the positive direction, we can now justify doing it again this year.
Okay.
And because all the variables were in the positive direction, they have now committed to doing an exhibition in 2023 on Sikhs during the coronations. And we're all part of that story now. But they minusculely manage everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you know. So really, it's not just a fill a coach and go. It's not about taking selfies. It's about reading the information, using it. And I saw this at UKPHA that they put on some splendid exhibitions, but our community doesn't know how to behave in a museum. No. Because when I was taking my groups there, people were getting bored after 40 minutes saying, bus AC. I'm like, what do you mean bus AC? I said, this is like the best exhibition you're going to see in the UK or in Western Europe. Every item for me was half an hour of staring at it.
Yeah, but you got to remember, I've seen this in India, where you go, you've got so much rich heritage and history there.
Well, we don't
the
value
locals
it.
don't give a shit. Right.
But we don't know how to value it.
It's not even that, right? I went to Gadani. Gadani is where Shamir Pasha's Jola is there, from Gwalior, right? So I went there with...
It's recently been restored now as well.
Yeah, it's actually really nice. So we went there and saw the Jola. And I saw it when I was a kid as well, and I saw it again when I went with my dad and his family. So we walk in there, have a look at everything. I seriously look at everything and photo everything and check everything out. And they're like, Chola, and then we get out and they go, let's go back to the print. And I was like, I want to see the other Gurdwaras here of Shamir Pasha. They're like, there aren't any. I was like, there's 3 more. I was like, there's Damdama Sahib, there's Nim Sahib, and there's Haveli Sahib. I said, no, there ain't. My dad's like, I've lived here all my life. There are no other Gurdwaras. My chacha tai, like, we've been here for, all of our lives, we'll come here. There's nothing. I was like, I'm telling you, I'm not getting in the car. I found some random little bibi, and she was great. Just poor little bibi. I just said, Mataji, Shamir Pasha, itihas, Hor Gurdwara hai, kehande haan. One there. And they were just surprised. And I was like, because they don't invest in that history. To them, it's just the Gurus were here. But for us, because we've never lived in those lands, to walk along walk in the footpaths of where the Gurus were is a massive thing. And for you, history is an important thing. For the majority of our Sikh community, they're just like, I know a bit about the Gurus, I know we had some Kalukaras, I know we had 1984 and that's it.
But I also think, we're not presenting history as a mirror. That's the problem. I think if people could learn from that and say, look, I can change my life direction through the shoulders of the giants we stand on, whether it's 84, whether it's Shaheed, whether it's the Ranjit Singh period, their stories can actually inform the direction of your life.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to crack, because I can see the penny drop. When I see the kids, I can tell in a Punjabi class which kids is going to shape their life.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I just spot it because I want to spot it, but I can see it now. And I think teachers can see that in their students.
Of course.
They can see those who are attention properly and those that are passing time.
Yeah.
And the reason we do the work we do is to try and leave that seed, and see where it grows. So I think that's where I'm getting to now. So I'm trying to focus on the quality and think I can spot it. So that's the reason to continue doing it. Because the other side of it is, let's just go social media only. Let me just go by myself and do it. I can go anywhere by myself and do whatever. But that's not what Little History is about. It's about the Sangat going with you, because so many things I saw between 2000 and 2010, there was no Sikh audience engagement, because all of the energy goes on the displays or the events that no passion or organisation goes is the bringing our community, supporting our community, access, culture, heritage, history. You know, you have to tell people where the toilets are, how long the journeys are going to be, because, you know, for our elders, you know, that's an important factor. I know that now. If my coach journey is over an hour and a half, then you have to consciously tell people we will stop. Don't worry.
Yeah,
then
exactly.
You know, and then they're okay. Then they're feeling good.
Otherwise
They're not going to tell you I
apprehension,
need a toilet break.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you, but consciously I can see it now. You know, so everything's got to be just nicely planned to take away any stress for people, and then they'll engage. That's why they can go to a gurdwara, because they know they're going to get fed and there's toilets nearby and they can spend as long as they want.
Yeah.
In a museum, if they've never been there, they don't even know if there's toilets there.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't even know you can get vegetarian food there.
Facilities and food, yeah, exactly.
So if you can just knock that out, the stress equation, then they'll come, then they'll be fine. Then they'll bring their mum, dad and everyone. And yet that's not a hard thing for any young person to do, just to explain there's toilets there, you know. These are the kind of things I learned through walking the walk. Walking the walk, you know. But for a British museum, of course it's disabled access, it's the law. Of course there's toilets, it's the law, you know. But I said, yeah, but our community aren't used to accessing these spaces. So just tell me where the toilets are, and then I will tell them in 2 different languages, and it'll be fine, you know. You know, and that's the little things that work, you know. You know, so today we did a 3-hour tour. We didn't do a toilet break, but it wasn't a Sikh audience. You know, if it was a Sikh audience, we would have had 2 or 3 toilet breaks just to make sure everyone's comfortable, you know. And that's another thing I'd have to factor in, you know. And then you just kind of start to take care of the group, you know, just act as one. And everyone's all right. We're as good as the slowest person, and we're as good as the person who needs to answer all the questions. You know, that's how it should be done. It's not, we're here for 2 hours, make 240 quid, rush off, exactly, get on the train. That is never going to work. For any community, it's never going to work.
Well, you'll have no retention at all, because they'll go, they just wanted the money and they're pissed off.
But people can see through all of that. You know? And I think, but that's, if I was doing it to earn money, then that's where I would have been forced to do it 2 or 3 tours a day. You know, so finish one, start another one. You know, I can see that as a business model, because I've mapped it all out on Excel that you cannot make this stuff work. You know, as a full-time job. You know, if you're working with just one community, predominantly, because people in our community see it as a bucket list item as well. They attend one tour, they give me so much praise and good vibes, and then I'll never see them again. I've got my phone full of people who came on tours. I've never seen them again. I was like, but I thought you liked it. No, God.
Yeah, exactly.
What else? You know? So I'm like, yeah, but that's one of like 15 tours.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Well,
and I'm like, look, that's fine. It's okay.
No, I want the Gravesend tour, Oxford tour. Those I know what tours I want to come on. So
no, but what I mean is, I don't know why I can't communicate that to people. Why can't I say that? That's only a small part. I don't know how to do that now. You know, we just walked up Oxford Street. It was basically a pseudo museum stroke shopping tour. You know. But these 2 would have been in Joe Malone. That's why they would have been straight on Oxford Street. They got the main shop there. But you know how much Sikh history is just on that 1 mile stretch. It's just amazing, you know. So I did a tour just on that. But everyone thought that is the only tour in Little History of the Sikhs do. I said, no, this was like our pastime tour. I don't want to say, but our Chelsea one's better. I didn't want to say that, but for me, I'm learning how to connect these tours together, you know. Do I need to do a pit stop at Primark's every week and top up their T-shirts, you know, and then just make it flexible for them? But I think, so I don't know how it's going to go. I just kind of think, let's carry on. If the family are happy for me to disappear and do it. They only come on one tour. The kids come along.
That's fine,
Yeah, but my wife goes, well, I don't want to do the same tour again, you know. You know, so
that's
I'm like, but it's Oxford Street.
Yeah, but as long as you've got a supporting partner who's going, do it.
It takes time, you know, but I think you just have to be conscious of the balance, you know. So that's what I have to learn from it all. But other than that, you get to meet a lot of good Singhs, really, and Singhnis on these kind of things. Because you meet a lot of people who are creative and passionate about what they do. You know, in what I do, I get to see them, you know. And we have got, I'm quite hopeful of the future, you know, in terms of our community and where it's going, you know. I don't see the kind of the issues in our community taking over the positive stuff in our community. I think the positive stuff is still going to outrun the issues. You know, I think, but there are a lot of issues.
No, it's wicked thing.
But we see the positive stuff, you know, and there's lots of it.
obviously this is going out in January.
Well, I go to 2023.
So I'm thinking we'll probably be back before you
Right.
even put this out to find out what you've found out since then.
I just
Because I'm mesmerised by the stuff that you do, and I'm just like, he's found another bit, and you know.
I'm writing it up. I've got 4 papers being written up at the moment. I've got Sikh history in the East End.
Yeah.
I've got a paper being on a spotlight with South Asian Diaspora Journal.
Yeah.
I've got to write that up. These all have deadlines and peer reviews, so I don't know where it'll go. And then I've got this global paper for this Saint-Tropez. I'm writing that up now for 1st of October. And then I've got my own paper, which I keep saying I've got to write the next part of Westminster up because I don't want to leave it till I'm 65 and not here anymore. I need to write it now, you know, because I can't kick it into. So I've got 3 papers going, 2 published, and I like that part of just publishing a paper.
Yeah.
It's in an academic space where people can download it on Google and read it.
Yeah.
And then I haven't got the pressure of trying to flog my book.
No, that's awesome.
Because then, you know, the problem I have is if I publish something, I find something new. So I'm like, well, now I've got to add to the history paper, you know. So
That's how it works.
I know.
I did an argument book before you know you're doing another edition and you found something else.
Yeah, but you're doing it in an
now
order.
I'm looking at an argument book and going, I've got 3 lots more to add to it. So it's just one of those. I've got so much to add to it.
Well, I've got the whole collection here.
The job decide
it's complete now.
Your latest job decide was coming, but I've now done an 800-page A4 of the job decide, and a lot of it is reworked.
800-page A4.
Yeah, that's how big it is.
So that's the whole, all combined.
All
combined.
All combined, extra bits, some bits edited and changed. So
if he did that for a uni, he would be at a PhD by now. Yeah, it's the same time, isn't it? It takes.
But no. Well, like I said, I'll probably be back before this goes out and find out what else you found.
Yeah, I'll keep a note of the new things, but the database keeps growing, so I just have to keep consciously updating. It's a desktop icon, so I just go in, this is a new one, this is a new one.
Good.
So I think there's another paper in the back of my head about Sikh history related to the Bollywood film industry.
Yeah.
Because I told Jasmine Roy, who did a master's on this stuff, and I've got some papers there from other people, that actually, before Bollywood, it was Lahore.
Okay.
But they made a film on Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and it caused issues in the Sikh community, so they burnt the cinema down, right? So what happened is that combined, so the investors got scared in the 1940s, and that's what that paper talks about. And so they got scared in Lahore, and then partition happened. And because Lahore was on the wrong side, then they had to remove the emerging film industry from Lahore, and they moved it to Bombay. Mumbai. And it starts to flourish. But there's so much legacy work from Lahore that kind of started to meander and find its way to Bollywood. You know, and it's not that it's a passion of mine, it's just a way to connect the stories. Because why does everyone think Mumbai is where it all happened? You know, it didn't. It started in Punjab, in Lahore. The film industry there, we had actors and actresses coming over to the UK to go to RADA, you know, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. You know, we had the Maharanis of Kapurthala coming here to train as actresses, then go to Hollywood, you know. So it was Lahore which was the centre in the first, before partition, for the film industry. It wasn't Mumbai. Mumbai was post-47. Yeah. And every Bollywood tune, and every Bollywood tune you think is a popular tune, I still have this kind of passion for 60s and 70s kind of thing, but they're all done in rags, because in those days they used to go to the Gurdwara, listen to the rag, and then compose lyrics to the rag they've just listened to. So there's lots of Lata Mangeshkar songs that I hear that actually, it's not that we're nowadays, I think the Gyanis are copying Bollywood.
Filmi rag kar de.
Right, now, but in the old days, the filmies used to come to the Gurdwara to learn the composition of the rag to which they base the songs on. And I can put you any song from the 60s, and in my head, the Shabad's going round, or the radio, Lata Mangeshkar singing it. And I was like, how did that work? Because that's in rag. So the Shabad, that can fit any... So this, we need, you know, our children need to know this, that it's not filmy Shabads.
Yeah.
It's just come full circle again. It's actually the other way round before. And we're going to come back to that again, because rag is timeless.
Yeah, of course it is.
So we're going to get back to that soon when people are...
And you can see that now with classical sort of rag or Santoors or the Darbar festivals, those sorts
exactly.
of things.
So we're coming back.
Happening.
Yeah, we're coming
You can
back.
massively see it happening.
So, so I feel like I want to write that. It's not my space to write, and I'm glad others are writing it up. But if we can just contribute to say, no, before Bombay, go to Lahore, because that's where I think the story starts, because 1930s, it starts there,
That's awesome, Sim. Right.
So let's see.
I know this is totally impromptu.
What impromptu? What we're going to do?
To just come and to just
oh,
come
today,
in,
yeah.
To just come and speak to you, and I really appreciate that. And just
did you do two today or one?
We've done one.
So you did have two, and I was the third one then.
You're the third one.
Third one today.
You're the third one. Yeah. What was I going to say? With regards to your websites, Instagrams, can you just plug them again, please?
So I think we're keeping our website so up to date with everything. I give my web designers so much content. What we've done now is we've worked out an education section of the website where I've just gone open source. All my Punjabi school presentations for the last 20 years, there's about 6 pen drives there, hard drives. I've just PDF'd them and I've put them free access to anyone in the world. If you want the PowerPoint and you want to change the logo for a work thing, just ask me. And the download, it takes you to another one and you just download the PowerPoint. Because basically I have like school parents saying, I've got to do a Diwali assembly, Baji. I'm like, yeah, take these slides. So I'm like, now just download these slides. You don't even have to ask me.
Yeah.
And then you can change it. So that's the new bit of the website. Let's just get all the research on and accessible. And there's no cost to it all. And the website is alittlehistoryoftheSikhs.org. And on that has our Facebook and Instagram. I'm not on the TikTok world. I don't understand these things. But everyone says to me, I need to be on TikTok. I don't know. I was like, forget it, man. So
These two can teach, because I ain't got a clue neither.
But what I need is a manager for TikTok. And you just take the content and do it yourself, because I don't want to do anything. I just want someone else to manage it. I have an Instagram banda now.
Yeah.
I have a website banda, Facebook. They all get paid. Not a lot, but they get paid. And I don't know which other platforms are going to work, but in that respect, I've just seen how Ramblings has done it all, and I'm just like really proud of him because he's done it wholeheartedly.
Oh, he's done really well.
So I'm just like, what's Reddit? I didn't know they had a community for this, and what's this one platform? What's
Have you
this
done
platform?
LinkedIn? Because you are a professional, I don't care what you say.
Yeah, so LinkedIn, I've kind of hidden it on my website because I've kind of put my work, and then I put founder of A Little History of Seats. Taran does a lot through LinkedIn. So he's a beast, I just can't maintain it. I just can't go into another icon because of the amount of time I spend.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
So I just kind of think, let me stick to 2. And I've got a website now. So I'm going to just stick to a website because that's helping me with the universities because they give me credibility based on the fact that I've got a website, And if LinkedIn starts, that's going to again push me into that tour space, because people keep saying to me, are you on TripAdvisor, are you on this, are you on that? I'm like, Baskara Bravo, Facebook is the thing, isn't it? It's not anymore. I know that it's like so 2010, but all my memories are on Facebook.
TripAdvisor would be good for you though, wouldn't it?
It'd be amazing because I keep all my feedback in books handwritten. I love that. I don't want 2 stars, 3 stars on there, right? Because I'm just thinking maybe it has to come, and that's fine, but it's going to be a cost, it's going to be a monthly account to maintain. And
is it? I don't know.
I'm sure it is. I can't
have a look.
Yeah, I think once you be a business, then it's professional.
Is it? Okay.
And I could do it, but then it's more time in front of the computer.
The thing is, you got to have the time to do it in the first place. There's no point paying for something. I know that I've paid for loads of different platforms to put things on, and just ain't got time to put the Gatha on or this on or that on, and just like I paid 80 quid for that. I paid 100 quid for that.
And I think when I have my team, I mean, the collective is different because they're experts in their own field, but my little team, it's hard because I'm asking them to do admin stuff. No one likes doing admin stuff. So why they can come on the tour, they can help me on the tour. Their expenses can get paid if they're not working and all that kind of stuff I can do. But to ask them to maintain like phone numbers and registers and all that, I just feel it's not deserving of them, to do it, They do the media side, they do the filming, they do the little histories, they do the presenting. But I just think it's unfair to kind of get someone to do the donkey work when really, that's our job. That's going to have to, because the risk is on my insurance. So I have to maintain that risk. I can't outsource it to someone else.
I can totally understand that.
So we have to put everything in writing. We have to have plans. We have to have contingencies and risk registers and everything, which we do, because all the councils and everything, that's what they ask for from me. And when people seem to think it just happens, with their £12 I can retire,
Yeah, exactly. Billa Betaya, that's fundamental. You're going to hear that
They
shit.
show me stuff in a free museum.
Yeah,
the V&A was free, isn't it?
You're going to hear that crap.
ਉੱਤੋਂ 3 ਪੌਂਡ ਡੱਬਾ ਘੋਕ ਦਾ ਲੈ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ V&A ਨੇ.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they'll hear. That's what they're doing.
I still say to Rambi, he's a kid on the Punjabi school, right? So I said to them, like, you can bring your spending money if you want anything. Went on a school trip. He had a £10 note, came back with 3 cans of Diet Coke. I was like, Singh, your mum's going to kill me, man.
Yeah, exactly. What fridge magnets did you make? Nothing.
What did you get? 3 cans of Coke. I was like, mate, I'm going to get done for this one, you know. So I was like, you do not buy soft drink cans in a museum.
Yeah,
that is how they operate. You know?
Exactly.
You know, we bring plastic bottle refill from the tap. You know?
All right, so is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, look, it's always nice to see you. I'm glad the kids came along as well. Buddy, good to see you too. But I don't know how this is going to turn out on the edit again. But
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Let's see how it goes. But look,
like I said, we'll be back before this goes out anyway. So
I think you're doing a lot of East London trips because I always had this kind of presentation in mind for a Sikhi camp where I do top trumps between East London, West London and the Midlands.
We're doing
right?
West
so
London.
Who has the best historians? So we got, Lalli Saab in the north. Then we've got the West London and the East London, UKPHA and Peter Vance. Then I had who has the... anyway, if you do the cyclists, and you've got Gov, the Sikh cycling network there, who has the Nishkar. So I was trying to develop this presentation to say, like, you know, where are these based? Because if you did in the IT space, then Taran, hands down, trumps it in the Midlands, right? So I don't even think anyone exists in the printing 3D space. Then you're in it for the Qatar books, wherever, because there's Kamalpreet, you are in the Midlands now, you know, but in West London, I'm not sure in East London. And I was trying to develop it. I was like, then it would be like a who's who of the UK Sikh space, you know, but playing trumps for Punjabi school.
Yeah. I don't know how to do the top trumps.
No, but then you just give points, and if you can guess, like, who's who. I've got it in my head, like, it's really good.
That sounds like a plan as well.
Yeah, and then you add up the points at the end of the 1 hour Punjabi class, you know, and then it'd be good. Like,
and then the winner gets a can of Coke from the museum.
That's it. No, but top trumps. But I had all these categories, like the scientists, like who's doing science in Sikhi in the East, West and the Midlands, you know. Who's, like, you know, in the rich list, they have the Sikhs in the rich list. Who's in the Midlands? Gumman hotels. Who's in the East? And then who's in the West? Euro car parts, you know. 500 million, 800 million. These guys,
that
you know.
sounds good.
So, and then the universities, who the alumni, you know.
See, we need to talk to you about universities because I think that's going to be another spot for work to be done. Yeah.
I've tried. It's a hard nut to crack. But
we're going to try.
No, we're working with Oxford. We're working with Loughborough, UCL.
Yeah.
The Sikh societies are difficult because they haven't got time to get organised.
Of course, no, that's fine.
You have to go in via the university.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Sikh societies are nice to do presentations and tours. But I'm surprised. A few years ago, I did Wednesday tours just for Sikh societies, but they're doing so much Bhangra practice that they can't come on the tours, you know. Because they've got Bhangra Showdown in February. Got world-class Bhangra in November.
Oh, no.
That's all I find is, like, you know...
It's gone back to... We had this conversation with Amandeep Singh, East London, and he was like, we had a Punjabi society and a Sikh society. And at the moment, it just seems to amalgamate in one, so...
Are they amalgamated into
I don't know, no, but you're just seeing that sort of thing.
Oh, I see Boss do a lot of good work. I see
Boss always do.
No, but there was another one, there was another group, Nishan, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they do amazing work, but what happens is the calendar gets full with all of the events they've programmed in for all the societies, that then there is no space for newcomers. So I contacted Nishan and they said, to be honest, it's not like that. You just have to contact each president and let them book a room and then go and do it. Okay. And I've tried that and it's working. You know, there's no animosity or anything. It's just there's short windows and a lot of events if you're in those universities. You know, that are the main Sikh population ones. You know, so we just have to do it one by one. So what we did at King's is now we're in the handover notes to the new president. Okay. This guy's verified. He will do a presentation, contacting him, you know, for a Wednesday or a Thursday lecture. We've done it with King's. We've done it at UCL. LSE are on board. But my own university, never.
No.
Again, you know, the better the devil you know. You know? No, you know. So even my alumni group are angry at Imperial all the time. They're like, why are the Sikhs not calling you in? I was like, mate, there's so much Sikh history at Imperial that if I knew, it would have been great. You know, the amount of scientists that have come out of Imperial who are Sikhs. You know,
really.
Dr. Kapani was at Imperial. He's memorialised in Imperial College, right, in the physics department. the guy from the Heart and Lung Institute, Dr. Kumar, Harpal Kumar. He was the Cancer Research UK CEO. He's at Imperial College, you know.
Oh, yeah. And
there's so many. The father of fibre optics, Kapani, was there, but the Imperial kids themselves won't even know, you know. There's another guy who's Sir Tajinder Singh Virdi, Imperial College lecturer. He was one of these, the CERN Proton. He's one of the founding members of that. He's a Sir in the UK, you know, Tajinder Singh Virdi, you know, physics. And he's most of the time advising on the Swiss hydro, whatever that particle theory.
Hadron Collider.
Hadron Collider. He's
the thing that's going to end the world.
Yeah, he's a Sikh guy.
That thing's going to, I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, he's from Tanzania as well.
That's even worse. Yeah. He's from where our parents were from, man.
But what I'm saying is that Imperial College kids who are there doing physics probably don't even know that all these physicists, biologists, you know, scientists, the history that I've researched because I've just had to dig in deep, you know. And there's so many of them because you can just search Singh and Core and you can just find all the alumni.
Yeah.
Then you do it at UCL, then you do it at LSE and you're like, flaming neck. How can a kid say they're not inspired these days, you know?
That's mental.
You know? And then you go to Oxford, then you can go to Cambridge.
Because they're not TikTokers, that's why.
Yeah, they're not on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a Buddha.
Yeah. So that's what we did. We do our lectures and then we do half an hour of these are the alumni that you follow in the footsteps of in your universities, you know. So this year we'll try and get a few more from Kingston on because I'm doing the Hampton Court stuff. So I don't know what time we're up to, Singh. Your battery's gone down.
Good. My battery's probably dead. It's dead all the time. It's probably dead because of the cricket scores and football scores. So don't worry about it. No, but I really appreciate again from Flawed and Foolish. I thank you for being fantastic. Every time I come around, I've picked up things, and today I'm going to go back and we'll be in the car. We did this last time, right? We left here and we were in the car going, oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh my God. And I know we're going to be talking Saint-Tropez, Budapest. Damn. Yeah. He's going to be looking on Skyscanner already for trips.
Do it.
So I can see this happening.
Yeah, I've got a European.
But this is what I mean. I love coming here. One, I love coming here. Second thing, I love looking through your books over there.
You know you can help yourself.
No, but that's something I love looking through those. I've shown the kids the coins in there.
Coins, stamps, everything.
And that's what I said. So for me, this is home. For the kids, they're like, where's my TikTok for 2 hours? That's fine.
You could just TP link. There's free Wi-Fi here.
Don't say that. They won't leave. They won't get in the goodie for 2 hours. But for me, it's really interesting. I love picking your brains. And I know within the space of, before January happens, I'll tell you, before January happens, we will be here. And you'll be the first person to feature 3 times within a year on our show. 100%. I'll tell you now. 100%. Because
you know what?
I watch your stuff all the time. And you send me links and you share a post and I'm like, what's that? Write down. So,
but what I think the challenge you can give me is the Sikh history in Africa would be an amazing podcast.
Well, you know what? I listened to Sikh Archive, right? Yeah. And I had this same talk with Ramblings because we spoke to Ramblings last week. When he did, we were talking about Sikh Archive did a podcast on Mukhan Singh. And what he did in Kenya, and what he was part of it. He was
Sikh Archive. Is he in the UK?
No, he's somebody who was from Coventry, now lives in Denmark.
Oh, okay.
But he did one about Mukhan Singh, and I was like, he wasn't really Sikh, although he wore the star and everything, and he was more a communist and did this and did that. He's just like, how many more people were involved in these sorts of things, whether it was in Makindu or in Mombasa or in Dar es Salaam. We had the railway networks going. We were in South Africa. Man, the history's not just that. Like you said, you talked about Egypt. I know stuff that happened in Israel. I know stuff that happened in Iraq, let alone other parts of Africa.
No, but I've just worked out Libya, Tunisia, Malawi.
Uganda. The Singh Sabha have gone there and now initiated a Gurdwara, which has said Guru Nanak Dev Ji went there. It's through the Janam Sakhis that they've got. What I'm saying is at the moment it's an area that's not been explored,
and it needs further research. But like the Gurdwara in Botswana now as well. And even in South Africa, there's a place called Aliwal in South Africa. Okay. There's a township called Aliwal. So these histories go back to the Anglo-Sikh Wars and the generals. Exactly. And I've just been discussing with Simranjeet Singh about West African countries issuing stamps, and I've just done the Sierra Leone collection with. And that's coming up now on eBay, but I've got the originals. Yeah. I'll show you it now, but it's an Uncle G from Wolverhampton on the stamp.
Is it?
And I know how they do this stuff because it's a novelty stamp.
See, this is really sad because you're looking at all those stamps, and I've just looked at one email last week from Royal Mail. They're getting Transformers.
No, that stamp. Yeah.
So you know, the original Optimus Prime and Megatron from the cartoons. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to buy some stamps, right? When I should be investing in my own Sikh history.
Sikh stamp
but then
collection.
I'm looking at, and I used to watch these things like nearly 40 years ago. So,
But see, the Royal Mail have clocked on that all the people with the money are Only Fools and Horses fans, Star Wars fans, Transformers fans,
Exactly.
and now they're making the stamps to fulfill.
give it 10,
a market.
15 years, it'll be Friends, it'll be those sorts of things, because
Yeah,
those
yeah.
are the people that have got rid of their budget
Yeah,
and got money now. Because
and then, you know, it's the easiest birthday present you can give. You just give them a Only Fools and Horses stamp. You know they'll be happy. You know,
Exactly.
10, 20 pound done. You know, and yet
But yeah, no,
got the-
we'll check your collection in a minute. if
no
that's the right
worries.
thing.
Good
But
on you.
no, on behalf of Flawed, Foolish and Fantastic, I just want to say thank you very much, and we'll see you in a couple of months, definitely.
Waheguru,
Right, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.